Welcome to episode 39 of Shame Talks. You know the shtick if you've been listening to the podcast. Every episode that ends in 9, like 39, we go back and we touch some topic that's related to 1999. This week, it's Boob Tube in 99. We're looking back at the television shows that were on the air during 1999. But before we get into talking about that, this week, Jason, Maier, and I, well, first of all, it's Cinco de Mayo. So I've had a couple of Modelo's already today. I didn't do a margarita because I thought that might push me over the edge before we started recording. But I did have a couple of Modelo's to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. But now Jason Maier and I are drinking Taxman's Tropical Withheld. Jason Richardson, something that's happened since the last time you were on the show. We've lost our Sun King connection. But you know Troy Myers, and he now works for Taxman. So we're drinking a lot of Taxman nowadays to support Troy and the company that he works for. So tonight we are doing a, what is this? Passion fruit, orange, guava, and spices wit beer. Jason Maier, you just drank it?
Can't wait.
Did you try it already?
Oh, yeah, I'm halfway done.
Okay, did you like it?
Very refreshing, very crisp. I like the citrus flavors to it. It's very easy going down.
Yeah.
This would easily be a summer beer for me. Like
right on. Richardson, you drink anything tonight?
Water.
Walmart Nestle Pure Life bottled water.
Did you have a margarita earlier at least to celebrate Cinco de Mayo?
I did not, but okay. I do have a little something in the fridge that I'll probably partake in this weekend. So,
all right, sounds good. All right, so first thing, the next question that we always ask after we talk about what we're drinking is, what did you guys watch this week? Maier, I know the movie you watched, and I haven't watched it yet. I think we're watching it tomorrow. But why don't you talk about Mitchell versus the Machines?
Mitchells versus the Mitchells versus the Machines was supposed to come out last year from Sony Animation. I believe it was Sony Animation. And it was called Connected when it was supposed to come out in movie theaters. It was sold to Netflix, and they just released it this past Friday. It's a story about a young girl who just graduates high school and is excited about going to film school in California and getting away from her weird family. And then, which she makes like little short movies about constantly. And then her dad is one last ditch effort to try and spend more time and make a better connection with his daughter before she leaves for school. He decides to cancel her plane ticket and drive across the country, just as the robot apocalypse happens to the entire world. So it's a very silly movie. It's got a lot of adult humor that's not like so on the nose as like Shrek, but it's still like me and Letha were cracking up. The kids were dying laughing. So it was very much worth our time. And I highly, highly recommend it. So
makes me really happy to hear that. You were the one that showed me the trailer. I think we were sitting in the office one night and you were like, dude, did you see the Connected trailer? And I was like, no, I saw that it came out, but I haven't watched it yet. And you were like, you have to watch it right this minute. And I died laughing while watching it with you. So I'm super excited to watch it with the family and whatnot. Richardson, what have you watched recently that you really enjoyed?
Does it include TV shows too?
Sure, yeah, go for it. Yeah. Whatever's made you happy recently.
I haven't really seen any movies lately. But I did watch last night. I was going through Amazon Prime and I hadn't watched Prime in a while. And it's nice when you sign in and you see they've, put a bunch of new stuff on there. Even if it's the older movies, it's just new content.
Sure.
And so I've watched Madhouse from 1990 with John Larroquette and Kirstie Alley.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm not familiar with it.
It's stupid, but it's funny as hell. And it's just about, a couple who they end up having relatives and all these friends that end up coming to stay at their house, and then the house gets destroyed. And, when you have company that stay with you, after a while, you're just kind of like, ugh. So it's a very over the top, but it's kind of a fun comedy from 1990. And then nice. I just wrapped up 7 seasons of Pretty Little Liars. which I was a little late to that game, but it was really weird. I caught that it's on HBO Max. So I was just like, oh, I've heard of the show. It came out a few years ago. Oh, it came out in like 2010. And the scary thing is I remember when that debuted, meaning like I remember that show coming out, but it didn't seem like that was, 10, 11 years ago. And I saw that it was 7 seasons and there's 25 episodes on each season. And so, yeah, for the last month, I caught up with that. And it's very teeny bopper, whodunit kind of mystery thriller. And it's a lot of fun. And I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I never watched it, so that's very interesting to hear you talk about.
It would. I think it would fit. I think you guys would have an appreciation for it because it's kind of like a Scream / I Know What You Did Last Summer with a bunch of Mean Girls.
Oh, okay, interesting.
With kind of all that combined.
So, like, there's murders that go on. Like, the show's about murder.
Oh, there's murders involved, and there's twists, and you think it's this person, then it's not this person, and then it's something else. And I'm like, how did they go 7 seasons on this? And you just get sucked in it, and it's so over the top, but you're just sucked into it, and you love it. And then by the end, you're like sad because it's over with, and you're like, you've been kind of dedicated to these characters for like a whole month. And it's just like,
or
you're
7
done.
years for the people that normally watched it.
Right. So, but it's one of those things where watching that show and being able to watch 7 seasons kind of reminded me of I can't go back to the old style of TV. Watch the shows weekly. I mean, so you think the advantage that we have now of catching up with these shows and we can just kind of blow right through them and we don't have to worry about the commercials and waiting, another week or then, oh gosh, now we got to wait 3 or 4 months till the next season starts. And then you watch it weekly and it's just like, that is done with. It is just done with. And I could not imagine watching that show like that back then.
Well, see, but that's the thing that I love about things like The Mandalorian and WandaVision and like Falcon Winter Soldier. Like, I appreciate that I only get one a week because it gives me that like the water cooler for a week. Like, I'm texting all my friends on Friday, like, did you watch Captain America? Or like, have you seen like the new Falcon Winter Soldier episode? Did you see this? Or do you think they're leading up to that? Like, I enjoy the ability to have that like week gap where my friends and I can like ponder and question what we think is going to happen. Now, 90% of the things that we think are going to happen don't end up happening, but it's still just, it's that fun water cooler week where we get to like think that we're smarter than the writers and we know what's going to happen. Like,
but at least there's only like 12 episodes. There's like 12 episodes. But imagine a season having 25 episodes and you go basically more than half the year. And then you have the pauses in between where they take breaks during the winter and then it comes back, in the following year. And I'm just like, how do we do TV like that? It was
can I ask you this? Were you a Lost fan? Did you watch Lost when Lost aired? Or did you do that later?
I didn't. I did not watch Lost during its normal. Gotcha. I got into Lost when I just happened to, someone gave me for Christmas the first season, right? I ended up going to buy the remaining seasons at Best Buy. And then I was able to blow through them.
Nice. All right. Yeah, that's like most shows that are just whatever, I do enjoy the ability to marathon through them and I don't care. Like, I watch it all. But some of the shows recently, specifically the Marvel ones, I've enjoyed that one a week where I then get to talk to my friends and try to figure out what we think is going on, which is how my life was with, like, I watched Lost live from episode 1 on, and I always enjoyed that week period where we're like, something crazy fucking happened this week. Like, we have a whole week to wait and see how it pays off. So I do still miss having that for some things, but I agree that most stuff I wait and marathon through.
I could totally respect that. I can respect that.
But again, I'm not saying that I have to have that for everything. Like, there are a lot of shows that I will just marathon through because it just doesn't matter. But some of the bigger, more important stuff, I like having the weekly. Since the last episode, I've watched Mortal Kombat. Have either of you guys watched it?
Not yet.
Okay, really disappointed.
I have no desire.
Yeah. It's fine, but I was very disappointed. I wanted a lot more out of it. Like, the only thing good in this version of the movie is it's R-rated, so you've got profanity, and then you've got very bloody, brutal fatalities, which are cool, but literally the plot of the movie is pretty dumb in my opinion. And I mean, yeah, the other thing I would say would ruin the plot, so I don't want to ruin that for you guys, but
it just looks confusing as hell.
Yeah, just lower expectations if anybody listening to this decides they want to see Mortal Kombat. And then the other thing that I watched last Friday was Without Remorse, the Michael B. Jordan, Tom Clancy movie. Did either of you guys watch that yet?
I have not. It is high on my list.
It's a good movie that I probably won't ever watch again. Like, Michael B. Jordan's top notch in it. This is a character that, you know, I read Tom Clancy books in high school, and I liked this character. I love Willem Dafoe in Clear and Present Danger. Liev Schreiber was fine in Sum of All Fears, but they kind of changed the character up a little bit. But then this version of it, Michael B. Jordan does an awesome job. It's like kind of the origin story of the character, and that it doesn't really follow the book at all. Maybe like 5% of it follows the book. But it definitely was up.
Was there a Without Remorse book?
Yes.
Okay.
Without Remorse was one of the books that came out in the mid to late 90s, and it was supposed to be, it might have been later. It might have been like 97, 98 maybe. It was after Clear and Present Danger established the character and whatnot. It went back to tell you the origin story of him and how Rainbow Six became a thing. I think that was around the same time the video games started. But the plot of that book literally involves the Vietnam War. So obviously they couldn't do that right now with Michael B. Jordan, but they could have changed it to like the Afghan War, and they didn't. They kind of just make it its own little thing, and it doesn't follow the book at all, which is fine. Whatever, the book is dated, that's fine. But it opens with a pretty cool, awesome, like covert mission scene. And then the middle of the movie has like a really good covert like mission scene. And then the rest of the movie is pretty slow, dull, and blah. What's the I can't remember the kid's name. The guy that plays Cutter in the movie, and I am drawing a blank on the kid. Who was the kid from Billy Elliot? Oh my God! What? Right.
Yeah, Jamie Bell.
Jamie Bell is in this, and he is really good as Cutter. He plays basically a young version of Henry Cizerni's character from Clear and Present Danger. The one that. Who
does Michael B. Jordan play?
He plays the main character. He plays John Carter. John Clark. Thank you. Yeah.
He's willing.
Is he in the future story movies that came out in the 90s?
Willem Dafoe.
He was Willem Dafoe's character in Clear and Present Danger, the mercenary.
He's like a Green Beret or something, and he's like behind enemy lines, and he's like ripping people to shreds.
Yeah.
So Michael B. Jordan, black guy, is playing Willem Dafoe's character as a younger character.
It's a reimagining of that character, because that's what Hollywood's doing now. Like, I don't think it necessarily is supposed to connect to Clear and Present Danger, but it is literally the same character. Just like Michael B. Jordan also played Johnny Storm, who had previously been played by Chris Evans in a different Fantastic Four movie. They're just kind of giving Michael B. Jordan a lot of these.
The possibility of the Black Superman.
Yeah, now they're talking about that he's going to be Black Superman. So he just seems to be kind of like the go-to guy for these kind of projects right now.
Yeah.
So it's the same character, but it's obviously it's been 30 years now almost since Clear and Present Danger came out. So they're just trying to set up their new universe and have their diversity and everything, represented. But it's like I said, the movie's worth watching. I highly recommend watching the movie once, but I don't think it's amazing enough to warrant any additional viewings. Like, the movie has two really awesome sequences, and the rest of it's pretty political, which is fine, because that's Clear and Present Dangers and Patriot Games are kind of the same way. They both have a lot of slow political stuff that goes on in them, but I just wasn't feeling it with this movie. So the last thing that I want to say about what people watched this week is I want to give a shout out. My buddy Jay Hampton watched Ted Lasso this week, and we were texting about it all week, and it just makes me extremely happy because not only did Jay watch it after he finished it and texted me how much he loved the show also, he had his parents watch it, and they marathoned through it and absolutely loved the show. So we have 3 new AFC Richmond people, and Jay, if you're listening, you are Roy Kent. Everybody knows you're Roy Kent. So when you texted me and you said, I don't know why you think I'm Roy Kent, everybody knows you're Roy Kent. So anyway, just wanted to say that it makes me happy when people watch Ted Lasso. We were texting about it all week. Literally, Jay and I texted about it so much that my wife started rewatching the show without me. So
just here, he's there. He's
every fucking where. Roy Kent.
Roy Kent.
Yes. So anyway, just always happy to have more Roy Kent fans or Ted Lasso fans in the world. So now we're actually going to get down to the meat of this episode and what we're actually going to be talking about, and that is television shows. What's up?
I feel like we're at an AMC movie theater because we had 30 minutes of pre-talk
previews
or talk instead of trailers. Sorry.
AMC for real.
I'm going to embrace that because I don't want to cut out any of these stuff that we talk about at the first part.
I was going to say, also, if you are listening, Bad Batch, if you're a Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
I forgot to put that in my notes as well. Yep, watched it yesterday. The connections that it has to Rebels and to Clone Wars is awesome. Amazing advancement in Star Wars storytelling. Dave Filoni is a genius.
I have lost my Jedi card. I am so far behind all that. It's ridiculous. People would throw me out the Star Wars Club at this point.
The Star Wars Club that you started?
I gave somebody my
your admin powers.
Yeah, I don't even control it anymore. Well, I can, but I've given it to Mark in the UK, and he is running it. And yeah, I think I got kind of burnt out, and then it got to the point where it was just so advanced. There's so much Star Wars that I have not seen with the books and then the television things and the cartoons, and it was just way beyond me, and so I just kind of felt like I was lost, and I'm like, here, y'all just do this. So
well, yesterday was May the 4th. Did you watch any Star Wars stuff yesterday?
No.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
No,
I'm sad about
definitely
that.
not be in charge of the Star Wars fan club.
No, I do not have to watch Star Wars on May 4th to appreciate Star Wars. But I have not watched The Mandalorian yet. You don't have to open
Christmas presents on Christmas either, but people do it.
I know, but I just, I am going to just binge watch The Mandalorian 2 seasons at some point, and I just have not gotten there yet. So
I think that should be above.
I feel like I started it, and I got about 15 to 20 minutes in it, and I've already felt lost. Like, I'm like, there's some backstory before this. Like, I feel like I'm missing something here, like, and so I kind of just have to have one of those rainy days where I just kind of, and once I probably get into a couple episodes, then it's probably like full force, like.
Oh, yeah. It takes off running pretty quickly. All right, let's get into television.
Back to the 90s.
1999. There was a couple of TV shows that started in 1999, and that's where we're going to start of our 3 categories that we've got tonight. TV shows that started in 1999. The first one's a show I don't care about. It's a show that a lot of people have tried to get me to care about, and I don't, and I never will. It's not my kind of humor. They had their first episode on January 31st of 1999, and that is The Family Guy. The Seth MacFarlane created show with Seth Green, Mila Kunis, Patrick Warburton. It was 3rd place on the community poll, so a lot of people do like this show. I'm just not one of them. Are either of you guys Family Guy people?
I like the bit when they're trying to decide who gets the last piece of cake or cheesecake or pie. It was the pie, the last piece of pie, and so they all drink it's some kind of medicine that makes you vomit, And then like, so everybody in the family decides to drink this.
I've seen this gif.
And when they start drinking it, they're like, oh dude, I can watch that clip over and over and over and over, man. Like, I've even showed it to my kids because I find it so funny. And but the rest of the show, I completely just don't care at all. I've watched a couple episodes. My dad was into it when I lived with him. But yeah, besides that, like, I'm not a big Family Guy.
Jason, you said you watch it or no, or you did watch it?
So I know it's kind of like I caught it when I caught it, where I've just turned the TV on and catch a few minutes or whatever, but I was never like devoted to it. But I have a respect for the Family Guy because I think it's smart. It's witty, it's over the top stupid, but there are these subtle moments. There's so many subtle moments in that show with paused looks, the ball chin for Peter. I mean, and there are these moments where you just stop and you just like really pay attention and you just laugh. And the one thing I could never get with the show was like the talking dog. Like, it was just too, it's almost like I wish the dog didn't talk. Is that Brian or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the dog or whatever? And then Stewie, I don't know. If anything I liked about Family Guy, it was Peter. And there's one episode where I don't even know what the episode was about. Did you watch this, Shane, all those shows?
No, I know.
There's this episode where it's Peter and some other couple guys or whatever, and they're standing in front of this elevator and they have to guess the code to get into for the elevator doors to open, right? So they can get away from whatever, get into something. And so the code voice says, what's the worst male name ever? And all the guys are like, and Peter just goes, Keith, and then the doors open. It's just the way he's like, I never would have thought the word Keith as like being funny, but it's the way Peter just out of nowhere is like, Keith. And I just like lost it. So it's little moments like that I think make the Family Guy, like, I could see why this show is very popular and I have a respect for it. So
right on. The next show that began the next show that began in 99 only had 18 episodes. It only lasted one season. I'm pretty sure it was on Fox if I remember right, but don't hold me to that. But it's Freaks and Geeks, which is one of my all-time favorite like high school set shows. Like, after stuff like Dawson's Creek and Saved by the Bell, like Freaks and Geeks is amazing. I love the entire cast. It's something that I've watched numerous times in the last 20 years. Have either of you guys watched Freaks and Geeks?
It is on my list. I like Paul Feig as a director, and so him being the creator, that it's on my to-do list to watch. And you look at all the celebrities that came out of that show,
James
you're
Franco,
like, oh, I realized
Seth
they were
Rogen, Jason Segel, Busy Phillips, John Francis Daley, Martin Starr, Sam Levine, Linda Cardellini. Like, the entire cast is top notch. Some of the funniest people working in Hollywood now. Yeah, I highly recommend watching it soon. It's only 18 episodes. You'll blast through it in a weekend. It's a perfect encapsulation of the 80s. Like, it's like the funnier version of the Wonder Years. Like, it kind of deals with some of the same like teenage growing up like drama, but it just presents it in a much funnier way than the Wonder Years ever did. Maier, have you ever watched it?
As popular as that show is now, that it's become kind of like a cult, it would not surprise me if they did Where Are These People Today?
That would be wonderful. I'd be down for that.
Of that show, like, I bet you.
Sure.
Anyways, go ahead, Jason.
Maier, have you watched it at all?
Sorry, I looked it up. It was NBC. It was not Fox.
Okay, thank you.
So I fixed that. And then the other thing is I watched the first 2 episodes of this show and I just couldn't get into the humor at all. So
Oh
I
man,
did not
this
make
isn't
it
the
to
second episode the party?
I can't remember, dude. Like
I think the second episode is where they have the party.
I watched these on Netflix probably 5-6 years ago. And like I said, I got through maybe it was the first 3 episodes. I don't remember. All I can tell you is I wasn't into it. And so I never gave it another chance.
Oh man, I'm sad to hear that. Like one of the very early episodes is when they have a party at their house and they buy a keg for it, but then they get scared of all their friends getting drunk, so they hide the keg in one of the kids' bedrooms and give everybody fake alcohol. But then a couple of the kids end up getting super hammered on the keg that's in the bedroom, and like Martin Starr is just laying on the floor, like just rambling crazy like stuff. Like I don't know. I'm sad that you didn't gravitate towards it.
Is that the Hobbit guy?
No, Martin Starr is like he's in the most recent Spider-Man movie. He's the teacher. He's got like long black straight hair. I don't remember a Hobbit guy in Freaks and Geeks.
Okay.
The next show that started on January 10th of 1999 is a hugely popular show that I only randomly watched because of Drea De Matteo, because I had a huge crush on her at that point in time. So it's a show that I've watched a lot of episodes of, but never really paid attention to the order of them or really know the show very well, and it's The Sopranos. Either of you guys Sopranos fans? No? Okay. Yeah, it's one that like I don't know a whole lot about. I've watched a lot of episodes of it, but I don't think I've ever watched them in order. I don't think I've ever understood the story that was going on. I literally, if I happened to catch it when it was on, I would watch it because, like I said, I had a huge crush on Drea De Matteo at that point in time. Never gone back and given it another try. Never gone back and tried to watch them in order. I know a lot of people who love the show. Unfortunately, the ending has been spoiled for me, so I don't feel like I have to watch it to know how it ends. Yeah, if neither of you get,
it's amazing as as much as we like movies and TV and whatnot and such, that is just one show that I've seen a few episodes, but I just kind of didn't naturally, wasn't drawn to it, and still don't have the energy this day to watch it. And I like James Gandolfini, but I just never really kind of connected with the Sopranos, kind of like that, like Game of Thrones. Like some of those HBO shows, and you either love it or you're just not into it.
I feel you on that. Maier, are we going to say something the same?
I'd be willing to give this show a shot, but I'm not rushing to see it. But
gotcha.
I'm not a huge like Scorsese fan either. Like as far as his gangster movies go, most of the time I just like The Departed's my favorite one that he did, and that's because it's not really a mobster movie. It's more of a police movie than it is a mobster movie. So I know some personal friends of ours really love the show. Like, I mean, like think it's the best thing that was ever created for television. But to me personally, I don't know if I had HBO when it came out. But I didn't. I know I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes maybe, but nothing that's ever made me go, I need to watch the rest of this. So
I would be that guy where someone asked me, "Are you a Sopranos or are you a Sex and the City guy?" And I would be the Sex and the City guy. Like, I'm just more. That would be more kind of a little light for me. You know what I mean? So it's just more of my direction. So
I can't blame you, because those first 2 seasons of Sex and the City I watched religiously. I kind of fell off after that, but
the other thing is this is, I feel like this might have been like the start of like the darkness essentially that kind of took over HBO and AMC and some of the like regular network television. Yeah, like FX, because I feel like it was like, can we go darker? Can we do The Sopranos but do it darker?
Sure.
Like,
well, and like Tony Soprano could have been like the pre-Jax Teller or the pre-Heisenberg. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you're giving me a character that's involved in shit that's supposed to be like bad guy stuff, but you're making me want to root for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the people that I know that love the show make me think that maybe I would enjoy it if I took the time to watch it. But out of all the things that I find the time to watch, which I've got to balance, just like everybody else. You got to, you've got when I am working, when I have, and then like being a dad and going to the extracurricular stuff. Like there's just so much juggling, and so it's like, do I want to go start that show? Like, but I'd be willing. I just haven't. So.
And I just realized that I've been talking about my crush Andrea De Matteo, and she was on both Sopranos and Sons of Anarchy. So that brings that all full circle. The next two shows that we're going to talk about are totally Jason Maier shows. So he's gonna run the table with these next 299 shows, because the first one, I know that within the last year or two, you just watched the entire series of The West Wing.
You are so wrong.
You told me you watched The West Wing recently.
I've watched episodes. So here's the deal. My wife is a huge West Wing fan.
Okay.
I mean, huge. Kind of like I watch Friends because it's on TV. She would constantly turn on West Wing and just let it play.
I thought you told me you watched the entire series.
I did not watch the entire series, Shane. You were mistaken. But I've seen a lot of it, but I've also seen a lot of it out of sequence because you just walk into the room while she's watching it, and then I'll like gravitate towards that episode and watch it, and then like she'll be like, okay, I'm going to bed, and I'm like, well, just leave it on. I'll just watch a few more and then watch 2 or 3 episodes. I know I haven't seen all of it. I have not seen it in order. I've seen a lot of episodes more than once. It's a very entertaining show. I really enjoy the Aaron Sorkin's grasp on thing, like his writing style, especially for this, considering it's so political. Like it works how it's just constantly like flowing in and out of every single room, and conversation is just like you literally, like they do so many steady shots in this show that like you're just literally just watching like an entire long like dialogue between 2 people as they walk down one hallway and then go this way, and then the camera follows the other person that just walked by but didn't have that conversation, and then you're going to follow them for like 3 or 4 minutes. It's a very entertaining show. It makes you think that if this is the way that the White House is run, that's kind of like, it's just nuts, which it probably is true, close to it anyway.
How long ago did you watch oh my God, the Facebook movie, I just lost Social Network. How long ago did you watch Social Network? Because I know you waited a long time.
I want to say that I saw that right before the pandemic.
Okay. Like, did you watch it because of Aaron Sorkin?
I definitely, I can't say that I watched it just because of that, because I remember you and Troy telling me you liked it so much.
Yeah.
I borrowed it from somebody. I think it was Matt Wolf. I borrowed it from Wolf, and it just sat on my shelf for months. And then finally I put it on, and like the thing that bugs me about that movie is, again, Aaron Sorkin and the way he writes, and it works for me. But like what really bugged me about that movie is like the ending came and I didn't want it to be over. Yep. It's a long movie. It's like what, 2.5, 240, something like that.
Yep.
But it's one of those moments where like ending.
It's like, I think it's like 225.
Okay, maybe. Oh, what?
Yeah.
But the ending came, and I was like, that can't be the end. Like no. Like I want more, and it just didn't give it to me because it was like, nope, this is the end of our story, and I was like, that's not cool. Like I was so involved into that movie, it sucked me in so awesomely,
and it's non-linear storytelling.
So, but yeah, The West Wing I think is awesome. And Minka Kelly, or you've got Rob Lowe's in it,
Moira Kelly,
Dule Hill, Allison Janney,
Bradley Whitford.
Like it's a top-notch cast. It's a great cast. So
Social Network is a 2-hour movie.
That's it? Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. I was like, the movie's not that long, because had it been 2.5 hours, it probably would have given you more that you wanted, Jace.
Well,
That's weird. I thought it was longer than that.
I don't feel like it. That's the other thing is when it ended, I was like, the movie's over. Like I couldn't believe that it was over.
It is one of the shorter David Fincher films, so.
Yeah, maybe it was just because it was Fincher that I was sitting there going, it can't be just 2 hours.
Fantastic movie.
Are you all right? We all we agree on that. Are you a West Wing fan?
He's like, get off social network and get back to 1999 TV shows. Well, Jason Woodall ain't even asked me about it. I was like, I love Social Network. It should have won Best Picture that year. West Wing, I have not really watched West Wing. I started the first couple episodes and then I just kind of didn't complete it, but it's in my queue still. And the reason why I really want to watch it, because everyone raves about it, but I'd say probably the last 7 to 8 years, I've kind of really thrown myself into politics.
What? No.
Keeping up.
Really?
What? I'm so shocked by this information.
How many texts pre-election did I get from Jason Richardson? Have you registered to vote? Following it more, and not from the politics standpoint of it, but just more so of the, how things are, the different positions, with the Congress, with the House of Representatives too. And, and so having a lot more of that knowledge, I feel like I'm better prepped to watch The West Wing, because when you're dealing with the characters, you're probably going to obviously be informed of who their titles are and their roles in the government. So I feel like I have a better tune-in antenna now to watch that show and understand these people's roles that they play in government, more so than, if you go back 20 years where I wasn't really into government and didn't really know a lot of the government roles per se. And so I feel like I'd be more in tune into it now that I know a little bit more. Nice. I don't care about politics, so I never watched The West Wing. So we can move on now.
So the next show that you've tagged.
You need to, Shane.
Jason, take it for the next show. I'll be right back.
Next show is Angel, which was it premiered October 5th of 1999. It was the spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This takes her vampire boyfriend from seasons 2 and 3, and he leaves Sunnydale, California, which is a fictitious town, and he moves to LA, and he ends up becoming a private investigator, and he deals in the paranormal at that point. You
loved that show, didn't you?
David Boreanaz, Charisma Carpenter, Glenn Quinn, God rest his soul, and Alexis Denisof. The first season of this, oh man, actually the first 2 seasons of this are really top notch for the sci-fi fantasy that I really enjoy. David Boreanaz was my man crush, especially at this point in time.
Because you were crazy about Buffy, right?
Oh yes, give me Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Okay, I just remember you going on about something about that show or whatever. So, anyways, go ahead.
I watched David Boreanaz on SEAL Team still to this day. If you're into operating and stuff like that, I think I don't know how technically correct it is, but I enjoy watching the show. But yeah, David Boreanaz plays an immortal, or plays a vampire who has a soul, and so he feels bad for all the crap that he did while he didn't have his soul as a regular vampire. But yeah, like, it's just, this show does some really silly stuff. There's an episode later on in later seasons where he becomes a puppet. He gets transformed into a puppet.
I have actually seen that episode.
That episode's hilarious. But like, there's
never
so
seen
much stuff that goes on. If you're into the Buffy universe at all, you should have watched this already. If you haven't, you need to make sure you do.
I've still got another season and a half of Buffy to finish, and then I plan to start Angel. I just don't know why it's taken me 8 years to finish Buffy.
It's tough though, because it's one of those things where, like, when I was watching them at home on DVD, there were times where I'd be like, oh, I'll watch this episode, but then I found myself like actually plotting out like this episode of Buffy, then I'd watch that episode of Angel, then I have to swap. I kept swapping discs after every single episode.
Because
so
there's a season or two where they overlap, right?
Yeah, because this is season 4, 5, 6, and 7 of Buffy, and then it lasted one more season after Buffy wrapped.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that happens in Angel. It's an awesome show.
Very nice. And Jaybird, you've never watched Angel at all? Okay. I've watched a few episodes here and there, completely random ones. I've seen the puppet episode at least 2 or 3 times just because not even knowing the plot of Angel in like the 4th or 5th season, whenever that happens, or very late in the show, not even knowing what was actually going on, it still is absolutely hilarious. Like it's essentially a bottle episode that even I could follow what was going on in that episode.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Our next topic we're going to discuss are shows that ended in 1999. The first of them being the first place vote getter on our community poll. This is a complete surprise to me. I think the show is fine, but I didn't love this show. I haven't watched it in years, but on May 4th, so yesterday in 1999, the show News Radio came to an end after 5 seasons, and they only did 97 episodes, which obviously perhaps it didn't run very long because post Phil Hartman's murder, death, however you want to look at it, I feel like the show probably lost a lot of the traction that it had. Had Phil Hartman not passed away, they probably could have gotten 9 or 10 seasons out of the show.
Dude, the show was really funny though.
And I remember, I never watched it hardcore, but I did watch it because obviously Phil Hartman, I grew up on Saturday Night Live. I loved Saturday Night Live, so I watched this for Phil Hartman and John Lovitz. And Vicki Lewis was on it also. Dave Foley and Stephen Root are both great. I'm not an Andy Dick fan. Andy Dick is actually one of the people in Hollywood I hate the most. Because if you don't know, Andy Dick supplied the cocaine to Phil Hartman's wife the night that she decided to overdose and kill the both of them. So I'm just not a huge Andy Dick fan after I found out that information. But anyway, I like the show. I think it's funny. I don't love the show, but I've watched it from time to time when it's on reruns now. And it's funny. I find myself laughing a lot. I do like it a lot better on the episodes Phil Hartman is on. How do you guys feel about the show?
I think it's hilarious. Joe Rogan is on that show, and he's really funny.
Oh yeah, yep.
Is that the controversial politics guy these days? That guy?
Well, yeah, but he's a liberal. So, but he just happens to be. He doesn't like to be silenced in the way he likes to talk.
And he just happens to have like the number 1 podcast in the world ever that gets billions of views.
I don't think Joe Rogan's liberal.
He is.
Well, go ahead though.
Trust me.
Really?
He's a liberal. He just doesn't like being muzzled at all. So that's the problem that he gets faced with by a lot of other liberals, is the fact that he should shut his mouth a lot, and he refuses to do so. But he's also involved with like UFC, and like Shane said, he's got the number 1 podcast. This was when he was just a comedian before he did all that stuff. He's really funny in this show. Who is the girl that you listed?
Vicki Lewis?
No, Maura Tierney.
Oh, Maura Tierney, yep.
I think that's who I'm thinking about. Is that the younger girl?
With the dark hair?
Yeah, she is absolute gold. And there's an episode where David Cross. David Cross plays the brother of somebody, and in the entire episode, you find out that he has been faking a brain injury for like a decade and a half, and he's acting like he's retarded or like mentally challenged, but the entire time he's not. And so he keeps hitting on her the entire episode. Every time everybody would leave his family members all thinking, like, he literally has convinced his family members that he has this mental incapacity. And then like every time they clear the room, he's like, "So baby, when are we going out?" And it's one of those episodes where you watch it and you're just like, this is so evil, but it's so funny at the exact same time. So I really enjoyed News Radio when I watched it when Phil Hartman was on it. I think I stopped when they brought in John Lovitz to replace. I think it was John Lovitz that they brought in to replace him.
That sounds right.
I believe it was, and I did not care for that. And it might have been just me holding on to the Phil Hartman aspect and just been like, I don't want to watch the rest of this anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
But yeah, like it's a fun show. Jaybird?
Jaybird?
Nope. Didn't watch it. Didn't care.
Interesting. So the next show that ended in 1999, they had a 3-part finale that aired on May 18th was part 1. And then parts 2 and 3 both aired on May 25th of 1999. And that was the show Home Improvement, which on our... What's that?
Came in fifth
on the community poll. Obviously, huge cast: Tim Allen, Patricia Richardson, Earl Hindman, Tara Noah Smith, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Zachary Ty Bryan. All 3 of the kids have 3 names. I've never realized that before. Richard Karn played Al. I always liked this finale because of the fact that Jill got a job in Indiana, which really shouldn't be that big of a deal because the show is set in Detroit. So it's not like her job offer was like super far away from where she was. But the fact that her job offer in the season finale was in Bloomington, Indiana, and she ends up taking it. Like, I just always thought it was cool that the Taylors ended up in Indiana. I don't know. It's one of those weird Hollywood things that I really enjoy. But Home Improvement was a show that I grew up with. It was watched in my household by my father. And so I have an affinity for it. I really love the show. Just, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago, I sat down and watched the entire show in order. It's on Hulu or Netflix or something like that. So I sat down from episode 1, watched them all in order every day that I could. And I still really enjoy the show. I think it holds up. I think they did a good job of dealing with a lot of social and political issues and stuff like that for being in the 90s. It's stuff that's still relevant today.
They could totally bring that show back today.
And it would be great. I know Tim Allen's got his like Last Man Standing, I think is what it's called. It's on like its 9th or 10th season now.
I think that one's been canceled though.
Yeah, but I think this year was their last season. Like I think it's just been canceled. But I think it went like 9 or 10 seasons, which is crazy because it's one of his daughters is the girl from Justified, who literally looks like she hasn't aged a day since she was on Justified. And that was 10 plus years ago. But I happened to, this last season, they did a crossover where they actually brought his Home Improvement character onto the show. And so it was really kind of cool to see Tim Allen doing the double role of his character on Last Man Standing, interacting with Tim the Toolman Taylor. So now I don't watch Last Man Standing regularly. It's another thing that if it's on and I put it on because I'm doing stuff, I'll watch it and it's funny. I can't remember the woman that plays his wife, but I think she's a pretty funny actress.
Wilson?
Who is it?
Nancy Wilson. Is it Nancy Wilson? The chick from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yes.
Nancy Wilson doesn't sound right, but it could be. But yeah, she's
her name is Nancy, but the last name you got wrong.
Nancy
Travis. Thank you. Yes, yeah. So I really enjoy her on the show. I think she's pretty funny, bouncing off of him in the same way that Patricia Richardson was in Home Improvement. Either of you guys fans of Home Improvement, and do you remember watching the finale at all?
I don't remember the finale. I've seen several episodes of Home Improvement. Of all the TV shows that we've talked up to this point, that would probably be one of my favorite of everything we've talked about so far.
Right on.
But I was never like a dedicated person. It was always kind of watching in when it went to syndication.
It probably won't surprise anybody listening to this that I really enjoyed all the Tool Time girls, like Pamela Anderson and the redhead chick named Holly that I don't remember her real name, but probably won't surprise anybody that a teenage version of Shane really enjoyed watching Home Improvement for them.
Yeah.
Maier?
Mm-hmm.
Maier?
I think it's interesting because I remember watching do you know how many seasons they had? 8 seasons. They had 8. So
it doesn't look like I wrote it down for this. I want to say 7.
It's 8. I'm looking it up.
Okay, yeah, 8 episodes,
so
8 seasons.
I did 8. They did 8 seasons of it, and I want to say it's like I think I stopped watching in I used to watch it religiously with the family every week, I want to say I stopped watching it in season 4 or 5, somewhere in that range. I've never seen the finale. I do remember that like Jonathan Taylor Thomas became such a huge star that at one point he was like, I don't even want to do this show, but he was contractually obligated to be in it for so many seasons or something. So he
Yeah.
ended up like taking a lesser role because like they sent him off to like military school or something.
He went off to like a Greenpeace type thing. He went off to like save the rainforest type stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And he came back that first season he was gone. He came back for the Christmas episode. Like they worked it out where he only had to appear like in so many episodes a season or something. So he came back for the Christmas episode one year. He came back for like an episode or two the next year. And then I think the last season he didn't come back until the finale.
Yeah, I'm not so I don't think I've ever seen the ending of this show, but I will agree with you that all the Tool girls were awesome.
Yeah, the last season gets a little rough. It's not great because and their storyline they went with was Benford Tools sells the show to like some other company and they try to make it more into like a talk show and they come in and try to oppress Tim and not let Tim have like the creative control over the show and they try to tell him what he has to do and they try to turn it into like a what were all those talk shows back then? Sally Jesse Raphael, yeah, Donahue, like those type of shows where it was less about actually like, you know, building and doing stuff as it was about like drama. Like I remember in the finale, the part one of the finale, they have like a fight or something on the show and like it's supposed to be like a talk show and have nothing to do with building, which is what eventually pushes Tim. His fight with in the last season they brought in a new character that was like the studio representative from the new company that bought them that was like there to produce and change the show, and Tim and him butted heads a lot. The last season's not that great. It's kind of rough to get through, but yeah, like it is what it is. But there are some really good tool time or home improvement stuff that goes on throughout the course of the show. Because I love Christmas so much, I loved the fact that every year they did a Christmas episode and that Tim was always all about decorating his house with as like basically going Clark Griswold essentially, over decorating his house, and he had a competition with his neighbor across the street. And so every year it was like, what can I do to one up my neighbor? Like I really enjoyed the Christmas episodes every year that they did. So yeah, like I said, it's one of the shows that I grew up with, so I have an affinity for it, even though I know it's not great. One of my favorite episodes, there's a guest star of Jim Brewer and Dave Chappelle. They're literally on for like 5 minutes of the episode as guests on Tool Time, and it's just fun to see those two comedians at the like this was before Half Baked. I think this was like a 93, 94 episode. So like right when Dave Chappelle is taking off, but just the fact that he did this one episode of Tool Time is just like, it makes me laugh. It makes me happy to see like him becoming Dave Chappelle that we know. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Home Improvement. The next show is one that I didn't appreciate when I was younger, but it is now probably God, it's so tough. The show that we're talking about is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And it's tough for me because I grew up with Star Trek The Next Generation. Jean-Luc Picard is like my captain. As I got, I think the show started in 92 or 93, and I was getting into high school, and like, you know, The Next Generation was still my Star Trek show, and then Deep Space Nine happened, and I just couldn't get into Deep Space Nine. That it was a very political Star Trek show, and I had just grown up for years watching The Next Generation. Switching into something that was so political and so slow, and they're on a space station, they're not, you know, out traveling, going to a different planet every week. I don't think I've lasted half the first season. My dad is a huge Trekkie. He's what got me into Star Trek. I watched The Next Generation with him growing up. He loved Deep Space Nine, but me as a 13 to 15-year-old kid just didn't care about watching it. Like it was not what I wanted from a Star Trek show. In 2012, I rewatched all of The Next Generation, all of Deep Space Nine, and all of Voyager in 1 year. And when I rewatched Deep Space Nine as a 32-year-old adult, I absolutely love the show and love the characters and the politics and like seeing how things ran on Deep Space Nine. And I have a huge respect for the show now. It's tough for me to say that I like it more than The Next Generation, but I mean, because like even Benjamin Sisko isn't a captain at the beginning of the show. He's just the commander of the space station. It's like 4 seasons into the show before he officially becomes a captain in Starfleet. So I love watching his career as he manages this space station and this war. Like he is literally in the middle of the Dominion War throughout the entire 7 seasons of the show. It's a show I did not appreciate in 1999, but I absolutely love it now. I think it's phenomenal. It came in 11th in voting. Are either of you guys Trekkies at all, and do you care about Deep Space Nine at all? Maier, I know you and I have talked about The Next Generation, but were you a Deep Space Nine fan at all? Maier?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Jake.
Oh, no, Maier. I know you and I have talked about The Next Generation a lot, but what did you get into?
So I grew up, my parents were into sci-fi as well. Star Wars obviously was something that played a lot in my house. My parents were into Star Trek, the original series. They watched a little bit of it while I was growing up. They really liked the movies that were coming out. They got into, my mom was a huge Next Generation, got into it and just started watching it. I started watching with Next Generation. I really enjoy Next Generation. I love Deep Space Nine.
Really good.
Even when I was watching it back then,
really
got into it. Sisko was always my favorite captain after watching that show. I loved the Defiant as a ship.
Sure.
So cool. I thought Worf's character was way better in that than it was in Next Generation.
He did get a lot more attention and a lot more depth on that show than he ever got.
And I gotta say, I also had a huge crush on Terry Farrell.
Sure.
Yeah, that might have been the main reason I was watching that show.
So you're definitely like later seasons then, because Jadzia Dax didn't come on until like season 3 or 4.
I thought Jadzia started, and I thought Terry Farrell was the first one.
Apologies. Yep, I had that backwards. I apologize. You're right. Yep.
Yeah. When they changed her, I kind of started losing interest, but I still really dug a lot of the stuff that they were doing with that show. So that was I remember it being on at 10:35 on Fox 59 every single weeknight, and I can't tell you. I mean, easily all throughout my high school years, I probably didn't go to bed until 12:30.
Nice.
Because I used to watch that, and then I immediately switched.
That hasn't changed.
Well,
that hasn't changed.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're in high school, you're not always staying up that late. But I definitely, it was definitely Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, whichever one was at 10:35, and then I would flip over and I'd watch David Letterman almost every single night. So because I love Letterman. So, but yeah, Deep Space Nine, awesome show. Love the show.
Awesome.
Jaybird,
are you a Star Trek guy at all?
I like Star Trek. I just have not seen Deep Space Nine. It's on the list too. That's again one of those shows where, for me, Star Trek. I mean, you've got to be into it. Like, it's got to be the right time, the right moment. So you get into a few episodes and then you stick with it.
Sure.
And it's on the list. I would like to revisit The Next Generation and then kind of go from there again, because I do like Next Generation a lot. So
yeah, Next Generation is great. The first 2 seasons are kind of rough. Because like I said, back in 2012, I watched Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, all 400 and some odd episodes that was over a 7-month period. When I first started and was watching Next Generation, I was like, man, I don't remember these first few seasons being this bad. But their visual effects are bad. There's a lot of not well set decorated stuff. But after season 3 they finally got some money put into them.
Picard. Yep.
dude. And that's why when I rewatched it and watched the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine, the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine has Enterprise docked at Deep Space Nine. It was their crossover event to get you interested in Deep Space Nine. As a kid, I didn't put all this together, but when I rewatched it, that first meeting between Picard and Benjamin Sisko, where Benjamin Sisko tells Picard that his wife died at Wolf 539 or 5359, which is where Picard basically like instigated a war, and Picard is like, okay, like he doesn't say I'm sorry, like because Picard doesn't think that he did anything wrong in that war. Like he's like, okay, where like it's such a great conversation between those two of them, because Sisko's like, I want you to know that like you're responsible for the death of my wife because you instigated this war, and Picard's like, I mean, I'm not going to apologize for it. I did what I thought was right, and like that is an amazing conversation between two people who have absolute resolve on their side of that argument about that war situation. So like Deep Space Nine is absolutely worth watching. One of my favorite shows looking back on the 90s that I wish I cared about more when I was in high school. And like I said, it finished 11th in our community poll. Now we are going to go to the most popular, the rest of the most popular results from our community poll that were all on the air during 1999. And the second place vote getter on the community poll was Friends. Jason Richardson, I'm going to let you go first because you're shaking your head, which makes me think you don't like Friends.
I don't hate Friends. I think it was just so overrated.
Ooh.
I mean,
I think so WZPO DJs are overrated.
It's so over the. I don't take that personally. I don't know. I watch it and it's just so over the top, but I mean, that's TV just in general, but I didn't get the Friends phenomenon. I just didn't. I don't think it's a bad show. And I think that there are good moments in those shows, but I just didn't get how that was like life for people, that show. That was just life. I mean, that was like its own phenomenon. And then they got to be the whole where they get $1 million each negotiating the contract things was real controversial, and nothing wrong with that per se, but it was just kind of like, really? Like, but I guess with as many people that were watching it, you know, they want to get paid. But just in general, though, I just never understood how that show got to be so popular. But I could understand how it'd be a hit show, but not a phenomenon. Well, even to where like today, you know, the Friends gets passed around like a dirty whore amongst different like streaming systems, and it like, and you always see the ads in the you know, on the Facebook or whatever, Friends is leaving Netflix, you know what I mean? Like, and just, I don't know. Anyways, I'm done.
Well, what I'm going to say is, the first ever deal for Friends ended up being with Netflix, and it was on Netflix for about 5 years. And then the HBO Max deal came into place. So I don't feel like your passing around is really that correct, because it's only ever been on Netflix and then on HBO Max. But what I'm going to say is, in the last 20 years of Jason and I mean, Jason and I have known each other longer. Jason Maier and I have known each other longer than 20 years. But in the last 20 years that we've had cell phones, I'd say 3 times a week minimum, we have Friends-related quotes exchanged between us. Maier, would you support me on that? Would you say at least 3 times a week?
Probably.
Either a Friends quote sent back and forth, or a Friends GIF sent back and forth, or, I mean, like, I think the show is absolutely.
I do
hilarious.
David Schwimmer Friends GIFs at times.
Sure. Pivot. Is Pivot one of them? Yeah. So I find the show super quotable, super relatable. I know Jason's made the comment that if he hadn't moved to Boston when he did, him and I probably would have ended up being roommates, and he felt like it would have been Joey and Chandler. And
would have been bad though. Yeah.
if Jason hadn't moved to Boston when he did, we were probably about on the verge of moving in together. There was an available house for us to rent together, and it probably would have been like the R-rated version of Friends at that point.
Yeah.
If you had to eliminate one friend, who would it be?
Oh, off the television show, right? We're not talking about personal life, right? It's Phoebe to me. Like, I love Phoebe, but it's definitely like I could totally do without her.
See, I'm oddly attracted to Phoebe's my problem.
I don't care about being attracted to her. I just feel like she's the one that I could do with it.
I feel like I'd have to eliminate Joey because he's competition for me.
Oh no.
Yeah, but again, I feel like I could also eliminate Ross because I don't feel like him and I would get along at all. Like, I feel like he would not enjoy my antics.
Yeah, probably would.
But yeah, I'd probably say Ross.
I always felt like Ross was just annoying.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, like, that's the role he fell into with that show. Like,
yeah,
he was a divorced guy who was annoying. So,
but yeah, so Friends is one of my all-time favorite shows. That they ended up doing a total of 236 episodes of the show. The season 5 finale happened in May of 1999, which is the one in Vegas, which is an absolutely phenomenal episode that ends with Ross and Rachel getting married in Vegas because they're so drunk.
Hello, Mr. Ross.
Hello, Mrs. Rachel.
Mr. Rachel.
Mr. Rachel, yeah.
Mrs.
But yeah, so that was kind of near the height of the show, in my opinion. The first couple seasons are okay. I want to say seasons 3 to 6 are probably my favorite. 7 to 8 are fine, and then 9 and 10 are lower on my list of the show. Oh man, Maier is tired.
I'm good. It's just here.
We got a lot more TV shows to go through.
A lot more TV shows. So let's move on to the 4th place in the community poll, which is a show that I've watched some of. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's okay. I've never been obsessed with watching the show, but they have done 731 episodes of The Simpsons over.
That is insane.
It's in like 36 seasons, 40?
No. I was going to say it's our 4th place.
It's 4th place on the poll, but they've been like 30 some seasons of this show. 731 episodes is insane. In 1999, Oh, go ahead. They were in their 10th season is all I was going to say. But what were you going to say?
I think that the thing, I never got like sucked into the Simpsons where I watched it weekly and such, but I have such again, kind of going back to that Family Guy, a respect for the show. It's the longest running show, I think, on television, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But the one thing that, from a nostalgia standpoint, that The Simpsons has a special place in my heart because I can remember when they did the little snippet things on the Tracy Ullman show.
Sure. Yep.
And to me, The Simpsons, it was more special then because you just got a piece of them every once in a while. Then it became the show, which was like, oh, you kind of excited, but then, it just kind of went on and on and on and on. But I never hated Simpsons. You just kind of catch it in its, here and there and such. But that was high school. Like, that show came on when I was in high school. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm almost 50 now, so it's like, wow, like, just to still be going, its energy, you got to have respect for it, even if you really don't watch the show.
For sure. Maier, what are your feelings on The Simpsons?
I watched some of the seasons kind of religiously for a little while, every Sunday night while we were having pizza at my parents' house.
Just pizza?
Well, yeah, we used to. My mom used to. Sunday night was pizza night at our house. Homemade.
Awesome.
Pizza.
Oh, okay.
Homemade pizza night at my parents' house, and we used to always have pizza and always watch The Simpsons. And I fell off at some point, probably just while I was in high school and got too busy with stuff. And then I didn't.
What's all the same?
Well, and I don't find it funny anymore. Like the kids started,
Right.
like the kids had it on the TV at one point just for whatever a couple of years ago, and it was like within like 5 minutes there was like multiple homosexual jokes, uh, like not even like funny, like it just was like it just feels like you're doing it because you can do it, not because it's funny. Um, they were boob jokes, and I mean, like it was all in the span of like a very short period of time. Because I was like, oh, they can watch The Simpsons. It's no big deal. And I had the TV on, and I was like reading a book or something, and then like hearing these words go through my brain while I'm trying to read a book, and I was just like, yeah, no, we're done with this. Like, it's definitely, and not that it was ever made for children, but I thought it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, I thought the movie, when they did the movie that came out in theaters, what was that, late or mid 2000s, like
2007,
yeah,
somewhere
like,
around there. Yep.
I really funny movie. I enjoyed the movie a lot.
Movie was okay. I remember not hating it.
It kind of felt like old school Simpsons to me, and then but I don't think I've watched a single episode since then.
They could have cut that show years ago, and even like in its early prime, it's like, how long can they go on with this? Like, it's just, I know television is meant to not take it seriously, but there's at some point where you're looking for some kind of real life element, and the fact that those kids never aged or grew up, or they were just stuck in their elementary school period, it just didn't make sense on that level for me.
Well, you want to talk about another show that doesn't make sense for the same reason? Let's go to the number 6 place voting in the community poll, and that's South Park, who has only 310 episodes compared to 731 of The Simpsons. But South Park is now in their 24th season. And
is that still running today?
That's still running today. And here's the weirdest thing about it. When I think back, I remember the movie South Park, bigger, longer, uncut, bigger.
99, right?
In 1999, that movie came out during their second season, which means it had to have started production during their first season. So, like, how was that show already so popular that during their first season they were already in production on the movie?
Because didn't South Park, kind of like The Simpsons, didn't you get snippets of it somewhere before it became a full-fledged show? Or maybe it was some underground kind of thing. You know what I mean? Internet was kind of around a little bit, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about South Park to know their origins. I feel like you might be kind of right, because I think I've kind of seen like a black and white, like more hand-drawn sketch stuff of South Park, and it looks like Maier's looking it up for us, so I'm just kind of babble.
It's almost like it didn't exist then, but it was almost like it was something. It would be something like you catch on YouTube snippets, right? That turned into this phenomena that then led to a TV show. So I kind of feel like I've seen it somewhere before it led up to the television show.
So Parker and Stone developed the show from the spirit of Christmas, 2 consecutive animated shorts. The latter became one of the first internet viral videos.
Oh, okay.
So ultimately leading to South Park's production, the pilot episode was produced using cutout in animation. And its first episode was August 13th of 1997. So
okay. So less than 2 years later, like, because the movie came out on June 30th of 99. So less than 2 years later, they already had an entire first season in the middle of their second season, and a movie came out. Like, that's pretty huge.
I remember working at Clearwater at that point, and I thought that movie was going to be this big, huge thing, and just no one came to see that damn thing.
Who was your best employee that was working for you at the point when that movie came out?
Nobody.
What? What are you talking about? In 1999, who was your best employee that picked up all the
there was
shifts
that guy. That was Mr. White.
Yeah, That was your best employee in '99. He was great. He dressed up as Darth Maul for
Shine. I think is his name, wasn't it? Shine.
Shine. I don't think Shine's right.
Shine White.
That guy. All right. The next show that we're going to talk about got the 7th place voting in the community poll, and it is one that I like for the simple fact that it connects to one of my all-time favorite TV shows, which is Cheers, the spinoff of Frasier. Jason, you should love Frasier. He's in the same business as you. Granted, you're a DJ where he's a talk show host, but you hate Frasier?
I hate Frasier. Frasier is just so dry and dry. It's like that area on your leg that you can't put enough lotion on it. It's still dry. Like, it's just boring as fuck.
That's sad. So I don't want to hear your.
But
opinion
I loved Cheers, and I liked Frasier on Cheers. I didn't need a spinoff of Frasier.
The only thing, well, now you're about to get a revival of it because they're about to bring Cheers or Frasier back.
I know.
They
could totally bring Cheers back.
I would love to bring Cheers back. That would be phenomenal. The one thing that I always disliked about Frasier was how they were trying to distance themselves from BB Newirth. I'm drawing a blank on her character's name. Frasier and Lilith. Thank you. Like, I know Lilith guest starred on maybe 2 episodes out of 264. I think she guest starred on 2, maybe 3 of them. But
Frederick,
I loved Frasier and Lilith, and I like the fact that they had their child. Like, Frederick became a part of the show at one point. Like, I like that, but I just enjoyed watching Frasier's character. He's so neurotic and so ridiculous, and his dad and his brother are variations of his ridiculousness. So I always enjoyed watching the 3 of them annoy the shit out of each other. Like, I know that was kind of the shtick of the show, aside from his work relationships that he had. But John Mahoney was just hilarious as his dad. Like, I really enjoyed the stuff they did with him. I like
John Mahoney. I just didn't like. There's something about Kelsey Grammer that just rubs me the wrong way. And I don't like how he cheated on his wife, and then just threw her to the curb. There's just something about him I did not care for, and I was just like, ugh. But a lot of people love that show. That show had legs. That was a very, very popular. To have Cheers be what it was, and then them do a spinoff. A lot of times, spinoffs obviously don't have legs. And Frasier, you know what? My hat off to the fact that it passed. It had legs, and it was a big deal when it ended.
Yeah, they didn't bring Kelsey Grammer in until season 4 of Cheers. So you've got 8 seasons of him playing Frasier on Cheers, and then 8 or 9 more years of him. That was a 17, 18 year period where he played the same character on 2 different shows long term. I can't think of many other shows, at least not live action, that were able to do that, television wise. Mr. Belding, I guess, was on 3 different versions of Saved by the Bell, I think. But
hey, Joey had his spin-off TV show,
which had Drea De Matteo as his sister. I'm so happy you brought that up. But yeah, so how did you feel about Frasier, Jason? Did you watch it? Did you care?
I like it. I like the dry humor in it. I don't think I've seen every episode. It wasn't something I was like, I need to go watch this every week. It was just if I was home and it was on, I'd catch it. So
yeah, it was one that when it was airing in real time, I was very hit and miss watching it. But it is one that I'll put on dry. It is one that I'll put on from time to time and watch a few episodes in a row, and it's not something I love, but I don't mind it from time to time. And they have a couple of really good Christmas episodes every year. I watch their Christmas episodes as part of my Christmas TV show day. So fine show. Oh, the next show we're going to talk about.
I'll be back on this one because I don't even didn't even watch this show.
I just lost it on my. There we go.
All you
didn't watch Boy Meets World either? Out of 158 episodes of Cory and Topanga, you didn't watch any Boy Meets World?
I might have watched a couple of episodes, but for the most part, I did not.
You need to go back to Hulu and watch Boy Meets World.
No,
it will bring up so much nostalgia for you, man. Like it's
good.
Oh man. Well, all right. It was 8th place in the community poll. I absolutely loved this show. It ended in 2000, so we were in the second to last season, and this season involved Cory and Topanga's wedding. But unfortunately, like they break up at the beginning of this season, so this season's pretty garbage. Apparently nobody really cares to talk to me about Boy Meets World. When I was at Chicago Comic Con like 3 years ago, when we were actually allowed to go to comic book conventions, I went to the Boy Meets World panel, and it was a lot of fun to see all the cast members that I loved and cared about and grew up with.
Did.
What's that?
I said, of course you did.
It was a lot of fun. I really like Boy Meets World, and apparently I'm the only one. Did you know, really quick, that Mr. Feeney was also the voice of Kit on Knight Rider?
I did know that.
Yeah. Well, that was the only fun trivia, that William Daniels did that. So, yay. Topanga was one of my very early crushes after DJ Tanner when I was growing up.
Kelly,
and it's because she's like
DJ Tanner, baby.
Oh, I love some DJ Tanner. But like Topanga was just like, she was like that young Phoebe. Like she was
Winnie Cooper.
Oh, Winnie Cooper. Yeah, she's in the top 5 of all time. Also, like, unfortunately, I hate admitting this. In my youth, I loved Winnie Cooper. But when I went back and rewatched The Wonder Years a couple of years ago, the show isn't as good as I remember it being. But Winnie Cooper just didn't hold up, and it made me sad.
You romanticized her because she was a cutie, but she, like, the character itself was not the best.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. So that was the 8th place vote getter. Apparently nobody really wants to talk about Boy Meets World with me. Did you ever watch Third Rock from the Sun?
Very hit and miss.
Agree. I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I remember French Stewart doing this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was funny in the show. Like I remember seeing a couple of episodes and thinking it was funny when we saw it, but besides that, never.
Jason Richardson.
Oh, y'all didn't spend too much time on Boy Meets World, did you?
Well, nobody really. If you didn't want to talk about it, and Jason never watched the show, and nobody can share their love for Topanga with me, like there wasn't much to talk about. So we moved on to Third Rock from the Sun.
Good. Never watched it.
You never did? Okay. It was the 9th
I do like
place.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow's great. The show's funny. It's one that I've never religiously watched. I've caught a lot of episodes. I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I like John Lithgow. Who's the mother? Kristen Johnson. I like her. I agree that French Stewart was annoying. Oh, Jane Curtin was on the show also. Yeah. Good cast. Every episode I've ever watched has been enjoyable. I've never been like, oh, this show is dumb. I've watched it. I've been like, oh, this is pretty funny. Ha, ha, ha. But, I mean, I never watched it live. I've always caught it in syndication. And, again, because I'm a huge Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan, I will watch it for him, despite the fact he's like 10 on the show or whatever. But, yeah, so it's fine. So, Jason, you were on the show. Richardson, did you watch it religiously at all? No? Okay.
No, I did not. And I don't even really remember watching a full episode of it. I just thought it was like way over the top, and I just didn't really connect with it. Okay. But I will say though, even though Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in that, it's always hard to picture him today. Like I don't even today, he is an adult, but I still see him as a kid.
Sure.
Like I don't see him as an adult. I still think of him as a Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a kid in TV and movies and stuff. Does that? You might agree on that.
He will always be Cameron to me from the 1999 film 10 Things I Hate About You. Like, that's how I will always see Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Like, I love the work that he's done. I love him in Inception. Like, he is one of the best parts of Inception. But agree, like, I will always see him as Cameron from 10 Things I Hate About You. The next show for us to talk about is it's a very hit and miss show. I tried to watch it when it first aired. I lost interest. I've tried to go back and rewatch it, and I've lost interest. I like the characters, but I really just feel like the writers don't know how to tell a good story, and that's the X-Files.
Yeah, the overall arc of what they were trying to accomplish never felt like it was ever complete, even when it got completed for the most part.
That show was popular.
It was.
It got 10
movies. So
it was 10th place on our community poll for voting. So it was definitely in the top 10. And I have a lot of friends that are like die hard on it. And again, like, I tried to watch it in high school because a lot of people I hung out with watched it in high school. I couldn't get into it. In 98, when the movie came out, I watched the movie and I was like, oh, I think the movie's okay. I'm going to go back and rewatch the show. And I just still couldn't get into it. Like, I don't know if it was the second or third season that they were in when the movie came out. Wait, no, it would have been like the fifth or sixth season, because I think the show... I can't tell. But so, like, after the movie came out, I was like, oh, maybe I should give the show another shot. So I tried to start watching the next season. Couldn't get into it. Like, 10 years later, I was like, you know what? I'm much older. Maybe I'll understand and appreciate X-Files more. So I went back when it was on a streaming platform. I think it was on Netflix at some point in the 2010s. Tried to start rewatching it and just couldn't get into it again. So, like, it's unfortunately a show that, like, I would like. I mean, I'm a huge Alien person. I love aliens. I love most Alien science fiction product that I can get my hands on. And this was just one that never hit right with me.
Same here.
Richardson?
Some really good episodes.
It's one of those shit. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, some really good episodes here and there. I remember it being on Sunday nights as well on Fox, and I want to say it was after The Simpsons, not too long after The Simpsons. And so Simpsons was on, we'd watch that, and then then this would be on like an hour later or whatever. Definitely something we watched for the first few seasons that it was on, and I got into and I liked, but then it just seemed to it just kept getting weirder and weirder and not really trying to apply itself to ending the overall story arc. So I just I kind of quit on it at some point and never found the interest to go back and see anything.
And Richardson, your thoughts?
It's one of those shows where I wanted to really get into it because everyone else was, and I just was like, I'm just not connecting with it. And it may be one of those things where, you know, I'm like 66 and retired, and, you know, we're doing virtual streaming where we can put the thing over our head and be in the show, and I may get into it at that point. You know, I'm
totally 15 years away, man.
Oh man, we'll see if we all last that long. We'll see if the world doesn't crumble before then. So we got two shows now that were suggested by people on the community poll, and there are two shows that I like, that I really enjoy, so I wanted to make sure that we brought them up. They weren't the most popular on the voting, but they were shows that at least one of them I know Maier is a fan of also. The first one was added by Jay Hampton, who, like I said earlier, has just recently watched Ted Lasso. If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, it's available on Apple Plus, and I highly recommend watching Ted Lasso because it's the greatest thing you will ever watch on television. But Jay suggested from 1999 the television show Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, which was just in its second season at that point, out of 4. They ended up doing 4 seasons. It started in 98. 99 saw its second season. I think the first season was a very short season, if I remember right, so it only aired in 98. And then 99 was most of the second season. Okay, so the first season was a short season that aired in 98. and then late 98 saw the second season start, and then the second season finished in 90. Wait, I'm sorry. It started in 98. Second season started at the end of 98, went into 99. And so 99, we got the second half of season 2 and the first half of season 3. Nathan Fillion joined the show in the second season. So you then literally had the two most sexy men on the planet, Ryan Reynolds and Nathan Fillion, on the same television show in 1999. Thank you, world. 1999 proves again how amazing it is that those two men were on the same television show. Maier, I know you recently got the box set. Have you gone back through the show yet?
I haven't yet. It's
Okay.
definitely on my list. So I'm excited to watch it. I know that I caught it on the Women's Entertainment Network, the WE Network, years ago, and I was dying laughing like Ryan Reynolds is funny in it, and then like you said, Nathan Fillion shows up. It takes place in Boston, so it definitely doesn't hurt that it's in one of my favorite towns. And then on top of that, I found out in later seasons that Tiffany Amber Thiessen joins the group, and so it's just like this it just keeps going up and up for me. So quite literally.
Well, and I mean, like the Boston Garden episode from season 1 is one of the funniest episodes of that show. Like, it's absolutely amazing. And then the episode, I love the fact the running shtick of Ryan Reynolds in every episode is taking some different experimental drug that sometimes plays into the storyline of the episode. But the episode where his roommate is supposed to be presenting his architectural project, and Ryan Reynolds thinks that his roommate took the drug that he was supposed to be taking to help him stay awake or whatever to do it. Like, it's one of those great shows that just has running gags in it that are very fun and very funny. I possess the television show digitally. So during quarantine, I started rewatching it, and I made it through the first 2 seasons. I want to finish watching it. I don't know why. Like, I have no reason that I stopped watching it, but it was like for a week, I just sat down and during the day watched a couple of episodes every day. And it's an absolute blast of a television show. It's so much fun. Jason Richardson, have you ever watched Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place? I don't even know how to tell you to watch it. I don't even know if it's available anywhere.
Buying the DVD.
Oh, I'm sure it'll pop up at some point. Ryan Reynolds dies and it'll, be in demand or something like that. But I'm sure it's a show I eventually will catch because it seems to have like a cult following now.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's just one of those. It's a time capsule of the '90s. Like, when you watch it, it's pure '90s. Like the sitcom aspect of it, the like limited sets that they have. Like, it was very much written as like a late '90s television show. And it's happiness because it's a lot of very funny people being very good at their job of making you laugh.
Right.
The next show was added by Tim Pendleton, and it is a show that Jay Hampton, who suggested the previous show, actually gave me his DVD set 10 to 12 years ago to watch. It's the show Sports Night, which is an Aaron Sorkin show. Have either of you guys watched Sports Night at all? Much like The West Wing, it's Aaron Sorkin writing, but I care more about sports. So the fact that it's set around an like the show Sports Night is literally a ripoff of ESPN. So it's about the characters that are the hosts of Sports Night. It shows you production and the hosts, the producers, the people that work behind the scenes, and then it shows you their personal lives. The sports television show itself is a very small, minute part of the show, as I assume the politics technically are on West Wing. But Sports Night, I really enjoyed.
Ted Lasso.
Like Ted Lasso. The sports itself in Ted Lasso do not matter as much as the character relationships outside of the sport. So Sports Night, an amazing show. I've only ever watched it once. Like I said, Jay Hampton lent me the DVD set that he owns so that I could watch it. It was phenomenal. Really enjoy the show. Have either of you guys watched it?
I have not. Although
no snippets, but no.
Gotcha. It's one that
Didn't
I would highly
last too
recommend.
long.
Both knowing that you guys like Aaron Sorkin writing, like I recommend it. The characters are very good. I'm trying to remember some of the actors. Oh, Robert Gamay is on there. Benson, like he's phenomenal on there. Felicity Huffman.
Josh Charles.
Yep. What's that?
Just bought it.
Josh Charles.
You just bought Sports Night?
Yep.
On Apple?
Yep.
How much is it?
It's $20.
Well, now I want to go buy Sports Night because I don't own it digitally. Like I said, I haven't seen it since Jay sent me those or lent me those DVDs. I highly recommend it. You like Aaron Sorkin writing? It's ESPN, but it's a very good character drama. Like, you know, they have to deal like with workplace shit going on. They have to deal with personal life shit going on, and they're just kind of friends around the workplace. It's very fun and enjoyable. So I whenever you finish it, I would love for you to report back that you've watched it and what you felt about it. So now I want to move on to some of my favorite shows. What are you clapping about?
The shows that
he's like, watched. This is stuff I don't know.
One of my all-time favorite shows from the 90s. It is a show that I am passionate about. It's a show that the first 2 seasons, very close to my heart, because Dawson Leary wanted to be a filmmaker. And in 1998 and 1999, I really wanted to be a filmmaker. So I love Dawson's Creek more than any human probably should. In 99, they were in the middle of the 2nd season. The big cliffhanger in the 2nd season, they killed off one of their main characters. She got drunk and fell into a creek, and she ended up drowning. So that kind of resonated for the rest of season 2 and into season 3. But I love Dawson's Creek for millions of reasons. I could do a whole episode on Dawson's Creek. We should do a whole episode on Dawson's Creek. But how do you guys feel about Dawson? I feel like I can't get Maier to agree to that.
I totally love Dawson's Creek. Like,
good.
Yeah, and it totally fits you too, especially at first. The first like couple episodes, like you got Shane written all over it.
Oh,
no, I love
Dawson's
Creek. And I watched Dawson's Creek live in lifetime, like weekly, and and it's. I'm in the midst of. I started rewatching it again. I'm just a couple episodes into the first season. You know, Mom is kind of caught cheating by Joey. And whatnot, but it's just a great show, you know. And then like any show, a lot of shows start off really great, and then they just kind of like jump the shark and veer off, and you know, seasons down the road. But overall, like I love that show. But it's been 20 years now. I can't. There's a lot I've forgotten about it. So in rewatching this, it'll be like, oh, I forgot about that. Or like, you know, I was sitting there just thinking when you started the intro of it, you know, did Michelle Williams last the whole series?
Oh yeah. Yep. She made it all the way through the end.
You know,
her.
And then I was sitting thinking like, did she and Dawson, were they ever together? Like, and I knew Joey and Pacey ended up together, but did Joey and Dawson ever end up together? And like, there's so much I've forgotten about the show, but I loved it then. So it's kind of fun to go back and rewatch it and be surprised.
And it's worth it. It's a show that I rewatch once a year. I rewatched it twice during COVID. Well, but I am very close and emotionally invested in Dawson's Creek. I really do enjoy it. And like I said, about once a year, I will rewatch the show. I rewatched it twice during COVID just because I had nothing else I was in the mood to watch. And I was working on my next book that I'm working on. So Dawson's Creek perfectly encapsulates the emotional mentality I need to be in for the book that I'm working on. So it's one of those shows, and I will admit, I love seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 on, I lose a little bit of interest because of the fact that Dawson gives up filmmaking, and that's what makes me love seasons 1 and 2 so much. That's where I relate to Dawson the most. I enjoy like watching kids try to do shit with movies, and like, it's stuff that Jason Maier and I have been through in our life of making movies together. Like, it's caught on camera with these kids. And because throughout the first 2 seasons, like, Dawson works on multiple movies, whether it's him writing and directing like the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, or if he's just working on the sports movie that they make during season 2. Like, it at least makes me feel like, oh, I can associate with Dawson then. But then season 3 and on, once he gets all emo and whatnot and decides he doesn't want to be a filmmaker anymore, and that was him, being a child, like, I started falling out of love with the show, but I still love the characters so much that I enjoy going on with them and seeing where they go. But definitely the first 2 seasons of the show are the best. Jason Maier, have you ever watched Dawson's Creek?
Movies lacked something.
Jason Maier, have you ever watched Dawson's Creek?
So I didn't get into it when it first launched.
Okay.
But then while I was at IU, and like the September 99 timeframe, I ended up, because I watched Buffy and there was nothing else really to do in the dorm, then I would end up watching Dawson's Creek right afterwards. So it's the season that you don't like, starting with the season you don't like. So it was season 3, but that's where my love for Brittany Daniels started.
Oh, yeah, because she comes in at the pilot episode, or like the first episode of season 3. Like, yeah,
she's just like this wayward traveler, essentially. Yep. And man, is she smoking hot.
Oh, so, yes.
Like, yeah, that's definitely where that started for me with her. So, yeah.
See, that's where I like on that show. I and I know you kind of have to evolve the show and bring new characters in and whatnot, but I always wanted Dawson's Creek to just stick with the 4 people. Sure. And like, don't bring all these like kind of just characters just in to just bring someone else in. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of bored with a lot of the other characters that they brought into the shows later and whatnot. I know they had to deal with certain issues and stuff, but I was just like, sure, let's just focus on these 4. Can we just keep it on these 4 and just stick with them?
Just a side note about the show that I find very interesting, 20 years into the future. I'm a big CW fan. I've liked the Arrow show and the Flash show and all that. And those are all headed by a guy named Greg Berlanti. So when I first started rewatching Dawson's Creek, I noticed that Greg Berlanti's name was coming up a lot in the producer, like co-producer. He wrote some of the episodes. The first episode that he wrote and directed is the episode where Jack comes out as gay. And I was like, well, that's really weird. Like, that's odd. And then I looked it up and found that Greg Berlanti is a homosexual male. And so I was like, holy shit, like, that had to have been awesome for him in 1999. Or, well, hold on, Jack. It should have been around 99 or 2000. The episode where Jack comes out as gay, I'm pretty sure it was in season 2. For this guy who has now gone on to be, like, huge at the CW and whatnot, like, he got to write and direct the episode where one of the characters came out as gay. And I was just like, that's got to be pretty cool for him, 20 years ago, crossing that bridge in the entertainment industry.
And see, that's where they should have made Pacey or Dawson, one of them, gay.
And yeah, and looking at the world 20 years ago, they were probably afraid to do that with a main character, but they brought in a secondary character to at least address that and then give
issue, yeah.
And yeah, so I always thought that I had never known that back then, but when I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, that's like, I recognize that name. I recognize all the work that he's done, 20 years later for the CW now. But I thought it was probably pretty cool for him 20 years ago to be able to be the guy, instead of having some straight white dude like write a gay character and make him come out, like, they at least gave it to a homosexual guy to be able to, give it some credibility, in my opinion. So again, not something that I was aware of back in '99, but something that I thought is pretty cool when I rewatched it.
And I want to
Google that guy and see if he's connected with Pretty Little Liars, because that was on CW too.
Greg Berlanti, yeah. You guys have computers more readily available to you. you should look it up. Maier, what were you about to say?
I was going to say that I want to say that was quite the controversy at the time too.
I believe you were correct.
The homosexual character on Dawson's Creek, like, because you didn't have too many homosexual characters at the time on television, period.
Yep.
Because I remember it being a big deal when Buffy had Willow become lesbian.
Yep.
In that show. Like, I remember.
Do you have any idea what year around that was? Was that late 90s or past that?
It would have been season 4, so let's see, that's 99.
Oh, yeah, right around the same time.
Yeah.
All right. While Jaybird is looking up Greg Berlanti, I'm going to move on to the next television show that I absolutely love. It's one that I watch basically as much as I watch Friends. I don't even know how to spell the name. Berlanti, Berlanti.
Okay.
The next show is one that I watch the same amount that I watch Friends now. When my wife and I go to bed, it's either we put on Friends or we put on The King of Queens. Because as a fat guy, I enjoy a comedy that makes me believe that I might get with Leah Remini. Either of you guys ever watch King of Queens?
I didn't watch the whole series, but I watched some episodes.
Same here.
Okay.
Not terribly impressed. I thought that she's very mean to him most of the time, it seems to me, and to me that's not a. Like, I don't mind like some prodding of like making fun of and joking with each other, but it seemed like she was a little bit more of a bitch to him than he was ever to her. And
I can see that.
It totally turns me off to the show for that reason. So
and I can see that. I still find humor in it. The thing I love about my wife is she can accept the fact that my wife is a very judgmental and outspoken person, like Carrie is on the show. My wife does not make fun of my weight in any way like Carrie does. And when we have conversations about the show, she says the one thing she dislikes about, like, my wife loves Kings of Queens. Like, we watch it a lot. The one thing she doesn't like about the show is Carrie does talk down or make fun of Doug a lot for his weight. And then in one of the episodes where he finally loses a bunch of weight, it's like the season 7 premiere. And the whole shtick of the show is Doug loses a bunch of weight. And so everybody starts giving him compliments. And then Carrie gets mad that Doug is skinny now and everybody is giving him compliments. And it's like, the one thing my wife and I talk about is she's like, I don't like how mean she is to him about his weight. And she's like, you know, I'm a bitch like Carrie is, but I would never make fun of you for your weight. So that is, I mean, it doesn't bother me. Like, I find it to be funny, like as a heavier guy, like when she calls him Cupcake or, you know, whatever, all the names that she gives him during the show that are basically food-based names. Like, it doesn't really bother me in any way. And I don't know. I again, like we were talking about Frasier's dad being a great character. Like, I absolutely love Jerry Stiller's character on this show because as the dad that just is asinine and ridiculous and just says and does whatever he wants, it's very a fun shakeup in the dynamic, in my opinion. So yeah, King of Queens is one of the shows that I absolutely love, and it's one of the shows that I didn't get into until years later. I started watching the show in 2006. I liked it so much that I went out and bought the first season of DVDs, watched them all, went out and bought the second season, and literally would just spend a week watching a whole season and then go out and buy the next season of DVDs to accumulate the whole show on DVD. I find it really hilarious, not necessarily Friends level hilarious, but it's a show that's a lot of fun for my wife and I to watch because a lot of the arguments that Doug and Carrie get into on the show are, number one, because Doug is super immature, which is me. Carrie is far more practical, which is my wife. And they get in a fight, they get upset, and then they make up. And that's kind of how my relationship is. Like, I want to do something stupid. My wife tries to tell me that I can't do something stupid. I get mad that she won't let me do something stupid. And then I finally realized, I was kind of being stupid. So we watch the show, and like there will literally be fights on the show where we're like, we've had that fight before. So it's kind of fun and cathartic for us to watch that show together.
I watched the live taping of that show once.
Did you really?
Yeah,
in Los Angeles?
Chris and I did. We went to Los Angeles. Yep.
Awesome. Do you know what season? Do you know what episode?
Chris would. I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, we stood in line and we literally were the last two picked to get into audience to watch that. We went one year and we did that, and then we did 2 episodes of I guess back in the day it would have been Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
Oh, okay.
To taping. So that was kind of like our trip to watch TV shows being taped and whatnot. So
very cool. The next show is one that I know Jason Richardson will be able to talk to me about. I'm not sure Maier's level on this show. This is a show that I refused to watch in high school. No interest in it because every single person I knew wouldn't shut the fuck up about this show. Every girl that I was hanging out with and friends with and dated, they all loved this show to the point where I refused to watch it. It's the same reason why I refused to watch Game of Thrones, because everybody wouldn't shut up about it. And if it's super popular, then I don't want anything to do with it. Beverly Hills 90210 is a show that I wish I didn't act that way. I started watching Beverly Hills 90210 the day after Luke Perry passed away. I'd watched him on Riverdale because I watch Riverdale to an extent. And I really like Luke Perry and a lot of other stuff I've seen him in, but I refused to ever watch 90210. After he passed away, I was like, you know what? Like, I have a lot of free time on my hand. Maybe I should give 90210 a chance. So I ended up starting to watch the show, and I really loved it. Like, I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the cast. I really enjoyed the stories they were telling. After season 6, it gets kind of dumb and ridiculous. Like, once Tiffany Amber Thiessen joins the show, once they get out of high school, and once they start working at the bar or owning the bar, like, things get kind of dumb. But I went along with it because of the fact that, like, I had, for the most part, enjoyed most of the characters that were still on the show. Obviously, a few characters had left by then, but I wish I would have watched Beverly Hills 90210 in high school, because watching it now as a 40-year-old dude, I shouldn't relate to it the way that I do. I should have watched it and related to it when I was in high school. So Richardson, I know you recently rewatched the show also. What are your feelings rewatching the show now?
Again, it's one of those things where, it's been 30 years.
Sure.
But it was still fun to watch. And there were moments where, I remember this, and then I'm like, I forgot about this. And I'm like, boy, those girls, they all ran. I mean, everyone was with everyone at some point as far as a relationship. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why I'm blanking the name out. Jenny Garth's character. The blonde, what's that?
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly.
Oh my God, Kelly, like, trained everybody. Jesus, like, I'm like, damn, Kelly, like, settle down, girl. Like, I actually did kind of like when Tiffany Amber Thiessen comes in. You have to get through a few episodes, but the Valerie character kind of shook things up a little bit, but I kind of always have had a soft spot for Tiffany Amber Thiessen. I still even really like her today. She just seems like a very humble person. But rewatching it was fun, and I agree that while you like the show, in today's time, you would have really, really appreciated the show watching it back then during its popularity. And for me, 90210 was like, I mean, the peak of it was I was at Purdue, 1990 through 91, and it's crazy. You think of a show like 90210 being just like girly girl, right? Just girls and such. No,
Sure.
straight guys. We're into it. So I think it was Monday nights when that one night, Monday or Wednesday nights, they kept moving around when that show was on Fox, and then Melrose Place would come on after. But everybody in the dorm rooms would have the show on, and all the doors would be open to each person's room, so you can walk down the halls. And, you know, whoever your clique was, you were all in somebody's room. And, you know, we had the pub place downstairs where people get food, nachos and stuff. And when 90210 was on, people were watching, and you could hear throughout the whole hall. And like, you didn't fuck around with like, you know, talking through it and shit like people do today. And we didn't have cell phones to interrupt us while, you know, no, we were tuned and glued into the show, commercials and all. And then they did a couple soundtracks from the TV show with Saving Forever for You, baby. And then, I mean, a lot of Jeremy Jordan, you know, I mean, it was a good time, and it really puts me back into that early 90s period, which I really like that period, but my parents didn't seem to like that period. So
Maier, did you have any 90210 experience?
I watched off and on through the first few seasons, but yeah, when Tiffany Amber Thiessen showed up and her big old titties showed up on that,
and like her first season's not bad. Like her first season's okay, but like they definitely made her the drama queen.
Valerie started getting a little.
I definitely dialed in to see those puppies. And I did that probably for like a year, probably her first year. And then I think I just kind of spittered off after that, but whatever. Yeah, the 90210 was what it was. Like I said, I watched a little bit of it. I remember my brother Michael, who both my parents worked nights as their second jobs while we were in high school, while this show was on. And I remember my brother Michael used to constantly like burn food while he was cooking dinner for everybody because he wasn't paying attention to the food because he was watching the TV show instead.
Interesting.
Yeah, he would burn rice all the time. Yeah, like, and you know, we'd be watching it or whatever, and all of a sudden he'd be like, "Oh shit!" like run into the other room just so he can finish up dinner and make sure it wasn't getting burned down. So,
one thing about that. Go. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, I was just gonna say some good memories with that show. So,
the one thing they overdid it with that show was like everybody, I think, except for Brandon and Brenda, were like on drugs. I don't know how many rape attempts there were, actual rapes, and then sexual assaults or attempted sexual assaults. It's just like, how much drug and sexual assault can you put these characters through? You know what I mean? I think it's crazy. Like,
who was the yearbook editor? Was that Amanda?
That was what's her name? The smart girl.
Smart girl, glasses, curly hair.
Yes, but she got written off of the show. That was
yeah, she wanted to leave. I remember that being
Andrea.
Yes, yep.
Who
was like playing like 20 years older than what she was, or younger than what she was.
Yeah.
So hot for being the nerd. Oh, big surprise! I married a woman who wears glasses most of the time.
Oh, so you had the hots for Andrea.
Oh, dude!
Even when she got pregnant.
Her and Jenny Garth were definitely my thing. Like, yeah, so good looking.
Yeah, when I watched it last year, Jeannie Garth was definitely like, I gravitated towards her.
Which is hilarious because when they did that weird relaunch thing a couple of years ago or whatever, my brother
that was weird.
My brother Dave said he watched it, and like it's hilarious to think of my brother Dave watching 90210 and being all pumped up for it. Like something happened and somebody like sat on the remote while they were watching it and it changed channels. He was like, "What the hell's happening?" Like freaked out. But he mentioned the fact that he was like Jenny Garth looks like she hasn't aged at all, and she still looks as fine as ever. And I was like,
oh yeah,
I believe that.
One of my favorite storylines with Kelly Taylor, aka Jenny Garth, was like when she was taking the diet pills.
Yeah.
And it was just like this over dramatic, like kind of, I just like Kelly just like gravitated to the diet pills. And it just kind of, it does remind you of that period in time where people were all about diet pills, girls and stuff.
Sure.
And just, body image is still, people are, it's still a thing today, but like back then it was all about diet pills. And it's just kind of funny, like, wow, because you don't hear people talk about diet pills today. You know what I mean? It's more starving themselves today. But yeah, anyways. So right. It's a great nostalgia show.
Very much so. Maier, I want you to take the reins, run with the next show that's on the list, because I know it's one of your all-time favorite shows that's been put on television.
Probably my favorite show of all time. I'm a huge fan of Joss Whedon's writing. His directing had gotten really well. He honed his directing while doing this show. It was a relaunch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was the TV show that came. He wrote the original script that Christy Swanson did in the late 80s, early 90s. I can't remember which. You remember what year that was, Jaybird?
What? Buffy the 92, the movie.
Right, you're right. 92. Christy Swanson, 92. My fault. So, but yeah, so he wrote and did this for TV. It hit me right at the right time. Here I was. I had just graduated high school when I started watching it. I started with season 3, and then had to find ways to consume seasons 1 and 2. Because this is before DVD, before digital streaming. So here I am trying to figure it out on like VHS essentially. But yeah, like it hits you in all the right places when you're in that time frame, especially. It's probably something that I'll show my kids when they're in high school, just for the simple fact that like it shows you a lot of the crazy crap that goes on in high school and amplifies it to the upteenth degree to make it, to make the monsters because of the substitute teacher who wants to eat your head and stuff like that. And it's just kind of it's a lot of fun. I love the style of dialogue, the style of his writing, with how quippy the dialogue is, and how if you're watching this you feel it. It's kind of like when you watch Firefly and Shiny, the word shiny comes into your vocabulary when but yeah, so yeah, Buffy's awesome, great. I think the second season's the best season out of all of them. The third season's really good, and then I think it kind of like tapers off after that. The first season was trying to find its footing and had a very small budget, so it's not like, it doesn't look the best and quality wise. But I think it does some really good writing in the first season. But then, like I said, season 2 is really good. Season 3 takes it up even a little bit higher, and then it just kind of tapers off. But I love all 7 seasons. Sarah Michelle Gellar will always be my main Hollywood crush girl. So
I apologize for stepping away for a second. My contacts were so dry that I was having like everything was blurry to me. I had to run and get some eye drops real quick. So I apologize. I don't like stepping away. Sorry about that. Thank you for taking the reins for a second. Did you talk about the crazy shit that went on with season 3 of Buffy because of Columbine?
Oh no. So season 3, there's an episode where they do the episode that was supposed to air the night of Columbine, or maybe the day after Columbine, was about a boy who was in the bell tower who was going, like, has a gun. And so like they literally pulled that episode off, and that never saw the light of day until like months and months later.
September 20. It was supposed to air 1 week after. Columbine happened on April 20th. That episode 18, was supposed to air on April 27th. It got pulled and moved to September 28th and was aired right before season 4 started.
And then like Graduation Day, if I remember correctly, they rewrote Graduation Day because of Columbine, because there were similarities apparently between what had happened in real life and what they were trying to put on the screen. That might be the reason why the finale of season 3, while the whole season is just super really good, the last episode has some downer moments.
Well, and the finale, Graduation Day, that you're talking about, part 1 aired on May 18th, and then part 2 didn't air until the middle of the summer on July 13th. So they obviously had to reshoot or rewrite or whatever. Like they had a 2-month gap between part 1 and part 2.
And so this show also helped besides Sarah Michelle Gellar becoming a superstar because of it, Allison Hannigan got a really big role, which led to her American Pie role probably. And then you also had Eliza Dushku, who became quite a big deal after this. Ever since then, right? But and then David Boreanaz is already. Seth Green was in the second and third seasons of this quite a bit, and he came back for an episode or two, or I think it's just one episode in season 4. But he also was taking off. His stardom was getting kind of crazy at that point, and then
because he was part of De Jure.
Anthony Stewart Head plays Giles as the librarian, and he's also the Watcher for Buffy, and he was somebody who apparently was kind of big in Great Britain and he's on Ted Lasso. So but yeah, so he also, it's kind of funny though, because if you watch some stuff online, you can see him doing Dr. Frankfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is a little weird. And then he also was in not direct to DVD. What's the word I'm looking for here? A movie that didn't see much showings at movie theaters called Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Oh yeah,
it's a very strange movie.
He was in that.
He's in it. He's one of the.
I only remember it because of Paris Hilton being in it.
Buffy is probably my favorite show of all time.
Nice.
Firefly probably would have taken it over if we had gotten more Firefly.
Sure.
But unfortunately, due to Joss Whedon's extracurricular activities, it kind of taints Angel and Buffy and Firefly for me and the Avengers and stuff like that. But as far as like the content of what I really enjoyed while I was watching it, and nothing better for me. So
sure. So Jason Richardson, I gave you a list of some of the other shows that were on the poll that were very popular.
Wait a second. What about no response to Buffy?
Oh yeah, okay. What'd you feel about Buffy? I didn't know that you watched Buffy. My bad. Do you like Buffy?
I didn't watch Buffy back in the day, but I had like a little 30-second little something about Buffy.
All right, go ahead. I apologize. Let me hear you about Buffy.
I didn't watch Buffy in the day. I didn't connect with it. And so I think maybe, I don't know, a few years back, it's on one of the streaming services. Which one is it?
It was on Netflix.
Is it Netflix? I think it's Netflix, yeah.
Netflix? Okay. And so I tried to watch it, and I'm still I'm paused on it right now. I hope it's still there, but I'm on the first season still, and I could see how back in the day it was popular. But man, when you watch it today, there's some cheesy ass moments in that show where it's just like, no, they did not just do that, or like, wow, that was bad. But back then it wouldn't have come off like that. You know what I mean? Like, but watching it today is a little over the top, but I could see why it was popular, but I want to continue it out because I like Buffy and I love the 1992 movie. So anyways, I just wanted to add my little 30 cents in there.
I got you. Well, I'm going to add another 30 seconds. Maier, I think you know what episode I stopped watching on. What season was it that character was killed? There was
season 1, episode 1.
No, it's like season 5. there's a character that gets killed that's really important.
Don't tell me.
If I was going to say, if you say it, then I could tell you exactly what episode, I could.
Do you remember a very important death around season 5 near the end, like episode 17 or 18, I think?
Yeah. I know.
A very important death after they bring in a younger character.
You're talking about the body. So
the body, yes. I watched one episode past that. That's where I'm at, and I have not been able to go back and force myself to finish watching the show.
Dude,
but
the body, along with the body, is a Joss Whedon directed and written episode, which is damn near perfect. And
it's a very good episode.
The Gentleman episode is super, super weird and messed up. In the episode of The Gentleman, literally these demons come into the town of Sunnydale and steal everybody's ability to talk. And so literally everybody's like writing whiteboards and doing hand motions and stuff. And it's funny yet terrifying. It's a funny episode, but it's also had some really terrifying moments in it. So
yeah, that I have seen that episode. That's really good. And the musical episode is also really good, which is probably... In high school, I may have watched a total of 10 episodes of the show. Half of them were probably at your house just because you were like, we have to watch Buffy because it's on. But the musical episode is the one that I remember the most, just because you and Dave Lichty and some of our other friends were like very hype about that musical episode.
Very well done for somebody who doesn't write, who's never written musicals before. Joss did some really good work with that episode. So.
All right. So, Jason Richardson, do you want to say anything else about Buffy? No? Okay. Then let's move on. I gave you a list of the other popular things on our community poll. Are there any of them that you want to talk about?
I watched Melrose Place top to bottom. Loved it. I'm going to rewatch it probably this summer, as I did 90210 last summer.
I am almost done with season 1. Like I said, I watched 90210 last year during COVID, and I tried to start watching Melrose Place just because I knew that it was like the thing, like they were connected.
Right.
So I'm like one episode away from finishing the first season. I don't love it the same way that I loved 902 or like connected to 90210, but I can't lie that it's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine where I'm like,
it's definitely a guilty pleasure, and I love Michael. I love Michael.
Okay.
Michael's a bad boy.
Yeah.
But some other ones you've got noted here. Seinfeld, I'd come in and out, watch on more syndication. I didn't watch during its real time. Very, very dry show, but man, there are some funny parts on Seinfeld. Seventh Heaven, there's a little guilty pleasure. Didn't watch every episode, but I caught a lot of them, and you just kind of gravitate toward it. And I loved Blossom. I would watch Blossom. Blossom came on, I think, Saturdays on NBC back in the day.
Right on.
And Baywatch, of course. I love Baywatch. I hope that's streaming on something, because I could go back and watch those and just be entertained totally.
Dude, that the theme song. The theme song's amazing. Like, I hate the fact that
funny bit of information that I just learned this week. I think a couple of days ago, for whatever reason, I was reading Matthew Perry's Wikipedia page for some reason. And in the mid-90s, do you know who he was dating? Yasmine Bleeth.
Good for him.
Which makes a lot of sense why she gets referenced a lot on Friends during that time.
She kind of disappeared.
Yes, I never knew that he was dating her at any point at all. But like, so the fact that like there's a lot of episodes of Friends where Yasmine gets name dropped, I'm like, oh, I bet the writers were like, you probably want us to talk about your girlfriend, don't you? So that was.
He's
pretty
probably
cool.
like, no, but we'll pay you millions. Okay.
All right, so that was an amazing talk and a great. Oh, are you playing the theme? I can't hear it, and I hope YouTube doesn't hear it, because then we'll get hit with restrictions.
There you go.
Like literally, like our YouTube video is gonna get hit with restrictions now, man.
Yeah, whatever. Making money off of this.
That was an awesome trip down memory lane for all the TV shows that we loved in 1999. Jason Richardson, you are going to be our first guest who gets to answer the Hurwitz questionnaire. Last week, we did a full episode with Troy Maier. Then we did a bonus episode where I talked to John Petty and Zach Proctor. The Hurwitz questionnaire is based on a book by Josh Hurwitz, where he interviewed a bunch of directors back in 2006-ish. After every interview, he had 17 questions that he asked the directors that he interviewed. This is not going to be for discussion. We're not going to belittle your answers. We're not going to make fun of you. We're not going to do anything. I literally have a questionnaire to ask you, and I want you to answer it with whatever is your truth at this moment.
Well, it wouldn't be fun if you didn't at least have some kind of a face reaction so I can just see how you...
Okay, well, I'll give you a face reaction. But these aren't topics for discussion. These are just literally, I want to ask you these
bullet points.
This is me stealing the Inside the Actors Studio questionnaire, if you will. I am not James Lipton, but I will ask questions as if I was James Lipton.
Okay. Oh, I hope I get to say a curse word.
You can curse whenever you want. Question number 1. What is the first film you ever saw?
First film I ever saw would have to be, its timeline, it's either Darby O'Gill and the Little People or John Carpenter's Halloween.
I hope that the correct answer is Halloween, because that's what I'm voting for. What is your favorite film of all time?
John Carpenter's Halloween.
I love that answer. What is your favorite line from a film?
I wrote this one down so my favorite line from a film is probably the movie that has probably the most lines and best lines of any movie. Any woman or gay man would know this, is Still Magnolias. And there's a scene at the beginning at the wedding where Dolly Parton and Olympia Dukakis are talking with each other. And Dolly Parton says, I bet you money she's paid $500 for that dress and don't even bother to wear a girl. And Olympia Dukakis' reply is, looks like two pigs fighting under a blanket. And to me, the way she delivers the line is the best movie line ever in a response in a movie. And I love it. But that movie itself, so many classic one-liners out of that film.
Awkward. That was not a quote from Major League, which is very weird. What film made you
Do y'all know that line, though?
No, I had no idea. I'm not a Steel Magnolias fan. Okay. Question number 4. What film made you realize that film is art?
I'm just going to say one that just comes to mind. Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you didn't, in all of your film going, you didn't realize film was art until like 2008. That's very awkward. No. There's several movies that can you didn't say the first film. You just said, what film? And to me, that is just one, when you watch it, it is just, whether you like the movie or not, the person, that made the movie had fun making the movie because they were doing such a throwback nostalgia to the exploitation period and the burning of the film, and then the how would you say the crappy look of the film where you'd have scratches through it and the sound kicking in and out and whatnot.
to come up with that and put that all together, to me, that was a good piece of throwback artwork, and in my opinion. Now, there's several other movies I could go into and whatnot, but that's just a kind of an example of, this is a piece of art here because he's totally throwing it back to like the 70s period and what those movies look like. And I thought he did a good job with it.
The correct answer we were looking for was Halloween. But okay, we're going to move on now. What movie do you consider your guilty
Wait a second.
pleasure?
Wait. Let's go. I know you said we weren't going to debate this one now. Let's go back to that. I guess maybe you don't think that was a well-executed piece of art?
Oh, no, I'm not arguing I'm like, that's totally fine. But like, I feel like, knowing you as long as I have, it didn't take you until 2009 to realize that film was art. I feel like something.
Well,
in
I mean,
your
the
life
question wasn't
before
what's the first film that made you realize that film.
Sure.
What film made you realize? So that would have been like the glass shattering moment that, oh, wait a minute, I'm watching art. I'm not just watching a movie.
That question is too in depth for me that I don't. But I still think Death Proof is a good piece of art.
Okay.
Well, Zach Proctor said that when he worked on Consternate, that's when he learned that film was art. So apparently, Jason and I didn't teach you anything about art while you worked on Consternate with us.
Well, it's probably because my line was, guess who's in the motherfucking house? That was my Oscar-winning best supporting support actor line in that movie.
Wrote that line for you, or if you came up with that by yourself.
No, I think that was in the...
No, that line was not in the script.
Remember.
You wrote that yourself. That's fine.
I can't. The whole Liz Dewhurst thing was ad-libbed, so...
Yeah, and we talk about that on our YouTube video about the 20th anniversary Consternate reunion that you can go watch. Question number 5 on the questionnaire. What movie do you consider your guilty pleasure?
I know the answer.
It's a hard that's a hard question because, I mean, if you really like the movie, then you shouldn't feel that's a guilty pleasure.
Correct.
But what is it, Jason?
Baps.
Well, that would be one. That would be one. But the one that I have in mind is a little bit more tasteful. But it would be You've Got Mail.
No, see, God damn it. Here's the problem. You've Got Mail is a good movie. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes or the IMDb, it's considered a good movie. A guilty pleasure movie is like Zach Proctor saying The 13th Warrior, because The 13th Warrior is a complete piece of shit.
I'm thinking more so of, because it's a chick flick and a guy likes it, it's kind of like, yeah, go like it, kind of, that's where I'm feeling the guilty pleasure. But if I have to go like from a hood standpoint, like a really bad, crappy movie, then okay, Jason's Baps would be an example. Good Burger, the Leprechaun, you know what I mean?
Leprechaun in the Hood?
Leprechaun. No, Leprechaun with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, Leprechaun
4. That would be
Leprechaun,
the first one with Jennifer Aniston. That would be a guilty pleasure.
Chainsaw Massacre 4. That's my bad.
No, she wasn't.
That was Renee Zellweger in Part 3 with Matthew McConaughey.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. I totally ruined all of that.
For the guy who runs a movie.
Right podcast. Like, ooh. Hopefully those aren't on the trivia questions when we have Jason, Troy, and Evan on for trivia. Hopefully I don't have to answer those questions.
All right, Jason. Who is your favorite movie character of all time?
Oh, that's an easy one. That's Dr. Loomis from Halloween.
I like that. Jason Richardson, what is your favorite movie snack food of all time?
Junior Mints.
All right. Maier?
Did I pass that one, Shane?
You passed
that one. Are we talking about like real food, like pizza or like,
Nope.
My answer was popcorn. I totally understand Junior Mints.
I like the combo of Junior Mints with popcorn too.
All right. Next question, number 8. Who is your favorite director of all time?
Oh, that's easy. You don't know that one?
You have to say it. We know it.
We don't.
David Fincher.
Oh, I thought John Carpenter.
No, David Fincher.
I don't know Jason Richardson as well as I thought I did, and I feel like a failure as a host now. Okay. Question number 9. Who is the most impressive filmmaker working today?
Quentin Tarantino.
Okay. Not that I want to get a huge answer, but can you elaborate on why you think it's Quentin Tarantino? What has he done to make you answer that way?
Because when you watch a Quentin Tarantino, even if you don't like the movie, you see the love he puts into his movies.
Okay.
And he is such a big fan of movies that he always throws and reminds you with the characters and moments and scenes and the wardrobes, the music, the fun that he has with just kind of painting the picture, the editing and the grit in his movies. He's extremely passionate about, and I think even if I don't like some of his movies, I think he impresses me with what he puts together. And he's a total throwback guy, and he'll kind of remind you of what movies used to be. And I think he's just a very good, smart filmmaker, even though I don't like every single thing that he does.
That was an amazing response. Do you hate Christopher Nolan?
No, I don't hate Christopher Nolan, but it's kind of like Christopher Nolan I have respect for, but it's kind of like back in like the 90s how like all the girls and gays love Brad Pitt, and I just kind of let them have him, you know, and I kind of centered on Russell Crowe where no one was really like into that, you know what I mean? And so I let people have Christopher Nolan.
All right, cool. Maier, next question.
What quality do the best directors share?
I would probably have to say their passion and the independence that they want as far as making decisions on their films. I mean, if you look at like a Quentin Tarantino, if you look at a David Fincher, those are guys that basically want it their way. David Fincher shoots 50 million minutes of film each movie, right? Goes over budget at times. Quentin Tarantino he's just basically almost controls everything of his films. Steven Spielberg. And then you John Carpenter, even back, I mean, he was like the trailblazer of that back in the day. He's got his name on the film. If you look at those directors that I just mentioned and compare that with like, I'm just going to use an example. Give me just kind of a director, but we don't know much about him, or like
Catherine Bigelow.
Okay, Catherine Bigelow, right? Like we could name a few movies that she's done, right? But I don't really know her passion with movies, or I really don't know enough about her, and nothing's been put out there that shows that how much she loves film, right? But you know, with David Fincher, you know, with Quentin Tarantino and Spielberg, it is out there how much they love film. And so having that independence, wanting that independence and having passion about what they do is, I think, what makes them creative, or like whatever that question was.
Who is your favorite actor of all time?
Or actress?
Actor or actress of all time.
Actor, oh god, it's so hard to narrow that down. But if I just got to go with a gut, and I think about that question coming up before the past, I'm just going to have to say Kevin Costner.
I like that answer.
It's not like I mean, there's so many actors are good at what they do, but when I watch Kevin Costner, to me, Kevin Costner, there's something real about him where I see him as a human being, and his dialogue and the way he delivers his lines and whatnot, it seems like he's just a real person, and he's not like acting.
I like that.
Whereas, like, don't get me wrong, like a Robert De Niro, phenomenal. But like sometimes when you watch Robert De Niro, he's acting.
I can buy that.
Kevin Costner is a natural.
Sure.
And then actress, the typical answer would be Meryl Streep, but I'm going to put her aside on this one, although she's the best, and I'm going to say Diane Lane. And the reason why I say Diane Lane is because, again, like Kevin Costner, there's a natural to her. It's just realism. Natural. And there's a very realism, and then there is a beauty to her. I think that bitch gonna be 90 and she's gonna be fine looking, because the older she gets, the more beautiful she is, and she is just a natural. And again, when she is acting, it's just natural. And I like natural actors that are not over the top. It's just kind of like a subtle acting, but it's real.
So who is your favorite actor or actress working today?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Who is your favorite actor or actress working today?
Working today. Well,
whereas, like,
Kevin
your
Costner and
favorite
Diane Lane
actor
are both working.
Well, your favorite actor or actress could have been somebody that was dead, like James Dean or something. So, like, this question is, who is working today, right now, that you love?
I would be one of those two, I guess, because they still apply. They're still working.
Okay. Hollywood is making a Jason Richardson biopic. Who do you want to be cast as Jason Richardson?
I'll leave that answer to the independent, passionate director.
Okay. If I'm the independent, passionate director, my answer would be, I think the perfect Jason Richardson is Bill Nunn.
But like Jason Richardson, what age though?
Doesn't matter. It's a movie about your life. Who do you think would be Jason Richardson? Like, I would cast Bill Nunn. I think Bill Nunn is a very amazing actor who could portray
Radio Raheem, do the right thing.
Raheem, yep. I think he could portray Jason Richardson right now in a movie about your life. Maier, do you have anybody you would cast?
No.
Okay. So Jason Richardson, if you could cast it, you can cast Will Smith if you want to. Like, I don't even remember. I think I cast Charlie Hunnam as me.
No, if I had to pick someone, and this is
Meryl Streep,
it would probably be Forrest Whitaker.
Ooh, that is a great answer. I can't argue that at all.
Because when I was younger, people thought I looked like Forrest Whitaker, and I had to grow up quickly and break out of that. I didn't think Forrest Whitaker was that attractive.
It doesn't matter about attractive. It matters about heart, and I could definitely see Forrest
Whitaker as a through, like my mid 20s to early 30s.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Forrest Whitaker was amazing. Like, he was on screen for 3 minutes. And
I would say Forrest Whitaker then.
Oh, I like that answer a lot. Maier.
If you could remake one...
Maybe Denzel.
So the next three questions... Denzel would be great for you. The next three questions are finish the sentence. So Jason's going to read you a sentence, and then you need to finish it.
If you could remake one movie... ...
What would it be?
Pretty much, yeah. What one movie do you want to see a remake of?
As long as they went with my direction, it would be La La Land.
Interesting. Okay.
And,
All right.
and let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, yeah.
Because I would have made La La Land. Don't get me wrong. I love the movie. The movie's great.
The
But
movie's fine.
I would have made La La Land take place back in that period that they were trying to tap into, but it was in today's world. Because no one today breaks out and dance and shit in 2016. You know what I mean? Like, we can go see Broadway plays and stuff, but no one would do that. Is more believable back in the day. But I would say if they had, what is that period, like the 1950s or something?
Yeah, 40s,
something
50s,
like that. So I would have wished that it actually took place in the 1950s, and then they actually got together at the end. I was so pissed that they did not get together at the end. That's that type of movie where I'm like, no, what they went through, I want these two to get together. I don't want the non-Hollywood ending. I want the Hollywood ending with the Hollywood movie.
Okay.
Because if you're not going to do the Hollywood ending, you should put them on drugs and shit too.
Very interesting take. Next sentence. I never want to watch a movie with ...
With someone who is addicted to their cell phone.
Oh, that's a great answer. That's in the same vein of the most popular answer we've gotten from a lot of people, which is like people who aren't there to watch the movie. Like 4 other people that we've had this survey with have said, like, if the person's not there for the experience of the movie, they don't want to watch it with them. Jason, give us the last question, bro.
My last question is, the perfect movie is ...
Die Hard.
Okay, and that is a very open to interpretation answer, and I like.
Did you expect Halloween again?
No,
well,
but the perfect movie is, like, a lot of us have answered, like, one that's emotion invoking, or one that I want to watch immediately after I finish it, or like nobody has ever actually said
characteristics of the film. Whereas you're giving us a perfect movie, which I will not argue with you on.
Not at all. Die Hard's a perfect movie. No, I'm all for it.
And I'll back that argument up, because Die Hard is probably one of the first movies where it was action-packed, it was smart, but most impressive, it had humor. So to put humor with action, I mean, I'm comical humor with action.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of really anything that was smart and well executed with both of those, components or items or whatever.
Sure. I will not argue it. I think Die Hard's a perfect movie also. So Jason Richardson, you are the first person in 2021 to complete the Hurwitz questionnaire for the Shane Talks podcast. I appreciate you answering those questions. Anybody that's a guest in the future is going to have to answer them. So I'm excited and looking forward to hearing a wide variety of people's answers to those questions. We just spent like 2.5 hours talking about TV shows from 1999 and how we felt about them. Next week, start our Marvelous May talk. We're supposed to have my buddy Snow on next week, but he just had knee surgery today, so I want to throw a shout out to my buddy Snow. I hope you are recovering well. I know that we've texted today and that I know you're feeling good, but I hope that sticks through for the next week so that you can make it on the show next Wednesday. We're going to start talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The next 2 episodes are going to be Marvel movies, where we're going to try to go through all 19 of them, just kind of discussing our feelings of them. Yeah, Jason Richardson, you're on the sideline for the rest of May, man. That's why we're happy we had you on today, because you made it very clear that the Marvel movies are not or the Marvel universe is not your forte. Because the week after we talk about the 19 Marvel movies, we're going to talk about Marvel TV shows.
Wait a minute. No, I like Marvel movies. I'm just not as smart about them as a lot of people are, like the guy wearing an X-Men t-shirt.
Yeah, so we are sidelining you for the rest of May because May is going to be all about superheroes. And well, I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. We had Troy on last week, and Troy said that his goal is to be on more episodes than you. And I tried to explain to him, like, you've already been, I think this is your 10th appearance on an episode out of the 39 that we've done. You've done a fourth of them. And Troy's goal is to be on more episodes than you. He wants to be the new Jason Richardson for our podcast. So Troy's
is this
coming for you, man.
Troy, I'm gonna, throw a quarter at the customer, Troy? Oh, okay, all right. Well,
it was a $5 bill. Well, if I remember the story right.
Maybe we could all be on one together.
You will be, because we'll announce it now. We don't have a date set in stone, but Shane Talks is going to do a trivia episode. We are going to invite Jason Richardson, Troy Maier, and Evan Miller on to compete against each other in a trivia episode. Because they are,
my God!
Well, you and Evan are our most repeated guests that we've had, and Troy just runs his mouth a lot. And Troy claims that he knows more about movies than anybody else. So we want to have the three of you guys on here to do a trivia episode. It'll probably end up being a bonus episode at some point. We'll get the scheduling and everything worked out, but Maier and I have already started writing the questions. We've worked out the scoring format, but we're excited to invite you and Evan on here so that we can do a trivia episode between the three of you and figure out which one of you knows the most about movies. So
nice.
That will be an episode we do in the future. Like I said, the scheduling is all we're working on right now between the five of us. But I'm really excited about doing that episode. I'm excited about the questions that Jason and I have already come up with in the 10 categories that we're going to use that night. It should be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a blast. But you and Troy will each add one view or one appearance when that night happens. But yeah, so like I said, the next couple of episodes for the rest of May are going to be about Marvel Cinematic Movies, the Marvel Television Universe, and then we're going to finish the month of May with a lot of the Marvel movies that got made before Marvel became Marvel. So we've got like the 1994 Fantastic Four, the 1996 Captain America, The Shadow, The Rocketeer, which I actually don't think was a Marvel comic book now.
Who is getting a booty call at 1:15 in the morning?
It's my nephew. Who constantly thinks it's a good idea to call me on FaceTime, even though he knows I'm recording.
Oh
my
God. Hi, Drew Maier. If you've listened to these 2.5 hours of our podcast, I want to say hi to you. But Jason Richardson, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for answering the Hurwitz questionnaire. It was a blast to ask you those questions and see your answers. Jason Maier, always a pleasure having you on the show. You're the best sidekick or not sidekick that I've ever had.
Whatever.
We haven't figured out an official title for you that's not sidekick. Like I want you to be my co-awesomeness guy.
Sure.
I might have to interview you guys one time on an episode.
On an episode of what? Oh, you want to do a flip episode where you interview the two of us? Ooh.
Jaybird Talks on Shane Talks.
Or I'll make it a Jaybird Talks logo, and we'll do Jaybird Talks episode, and you can ask us questions?
Where I flip it back on you, and it's on you guys, yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm all about that. We can work that into the schedule somewhere. That would be a blast. So, yeah.
Awesome, man.
Thank you very much for being on the episode tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week to talk about Marvel movies, hopefully with Snow as a guest.